It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. Well, the Vegas Golden Knights did it, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are one win away from doing it after a night of playoff action. Vegas Golden Knights, 2-1 winners over Colorado Avalanche, the 1 seed in the Western playoffs. The team that had the best record in the regular season. And Vegas sweeps them out of the playoffs, sweeps them out. Never in a million years did I think that would happen. It did. I think that Tortorella hire has got to go down as one of the best ever. I mean, that's just, I'm not a big fan of midseason coaches, especially that late in the season. That just seems like placing blame on somebody, pointing a finger, looking for a scapegoat, rearranging the deck chairs, all the cliches. But, man, it's paid off. They sprinted to the finish line in a division where the line between winning the division and missing the playoffs was actually fairly narrow. It was fairly, if they had collapsed there at the end of the season, they could have blown everything. But instead, they finished strong. They win the division, and now they won 3 playoff series, and they're going back to the Stanley Cup Finals. 3rd time in their 9-year existence. And you look at it, and they only finished 9 points in front of San Jose, who missed the playoffs. And also, I guess, 9 points in front of St. Louis as well. They won their division with 95 points, and with 90, the Kings were just 5 points behind them, and the Kings had to play Colorado right out of the gate as the 8th seed. Maybe Vegas could have beaten them right out of the gate as the 8th seed, but just a phenomenal run to close the regular season, win the division, and now win 3 playoff series. Super frustrating for Utah Mammoth fans. I get that. It was, Game 5 looked like it was there for the taking, and they were going to take the lead, and then it slips away, and Vegas closes them out in Game 6. So, these things happen. The margins are narrow. It's painful watching Vegas advance. On the other hand, maybe it tells you you're not that far away, and you ought to have a lot of hope for this next season. Vegas is in the Stanley Cup Final. They're going to get the winner of Carolina and Montreal. Carolina's up 2-1 and playing tonight, Game 4 in that Eastern Conference Final. Can't believe Colorado got swept out. 121 points. Gone. Amazing. Never would have predicted that. I did predict that the Thunder would win Game 5, and I've got to say that they continue to surprise me. I think they're the better team. They're going to win the series, and I think they're going to win the championship. But there's so many chances of them to take control, be dominant, break the other guy's will. They seem to pass on those chances within games and within series. And I can't explain it other than say maybe it's something about the nature of the game being so 3-point dependent that you can't shoot the 3 well all the time, and you have a bad quarter, you let somebody back in, or somebody else gets hot, they get back in, or maybe the same thing within a game. But I thought the Spurs were up 2-1, and they had a chance in Game 4 in San Antonio to basically knock the Spurs out. You go up 3-1, you got 2 of the last 3 at home. The Thunder, if they beat the Spurs in that game in San Antonio, do the Spurs really have any hope of coming back at that point? I don't think so. But what happens, the Spurs come out awesome in Game 4. The Thunder, they basically got drilled the entire second half, and actually a decent chunk of the second quarter as well. But then when they need to, they turn around and win Game 5. Just like when they need to win Game 2, they revved up and got that done. So they win. This is how they went through the final. They had a long series with the Pacers last year. It ended up going 7, and I thought there were a couple times where they were going to put the Pacers away, and they didn't, and the thing just kept dragging on and on. And eventually they won, and they're the champs. So I guess you can say, what does it matter? But it feels like it could matter. Maybe it feels like it should matter. They needed 7 to beat Denver last year. Couldn't do it. And they were down 2-1 to Denver, and they were down 2-1 to Indiana. I don't get it sometimes with these guys. But they rallied both times to get it done, and they won the title. And they're up 3-2 on San Antonio. So one more win, they're off tonight, and then again tomorrow night they'll be in San Antonio, and we'll see if they win or if they play with their food. that's the best analogy I've got for you. I thought they played with their food up by 20 in the third quarter. A little run there, it goes to 25 or 30. 20's not safe. We see comebacks. We just saw the Knicks do it, right? That was like 22. And sure enough, the Spurs got back. They got it to 10. They actually got it down to 8. Maybe it was a little smaller than that, 6 or 7. They never got it to 5. And then the Thunder, they did enough. They got it across the finish line. I thought several intriguing things happened in this game. Really disappointing for Victor Wembanyama. 20 points, 6 rebounds. And the 20 points isn't enough. He needs to be 30-point guy. He was 4 of 15 from the floor. I'll give him credit for going 12 of 12 from the line, getting there and getting them go. He was 0 of 5 on three-pointers and 2 of 10 on the twos. He missed an alley-oop layup or dunk. You're 7'4". I don't know how that happens. And Mike Tirico, who's always going to say the nicest thing possible on the broadcast, he's like, oh, the timing wasn't right. I'm like, okay, a little guy has to jump and the timing has to be right. He's 7'4". He basically sticks his arms in the air and he's right at the rim. There's not that much timing. Gets the ball, and he kind of fumbled the ball. And I can live with all of that. I don't like it. But the 6 rebounds, come on. You got to go get the ball. You got to be more aggressive than that. You got to play with, as coaches like to say, you got to play with more force than that. Hartenstein had 15 boards and Holmgren had 11. It was clearly their mission to neutralize Wembanyama, and they ended up dominating him. They ended up dominating the backboards. Oklahoma City wins the battle of the backboards 48-41. More possessions, more shots, less time defending. Fantastic. There were other things about this game that were not fantastic. Certainly, the Spurs hurt themselves from 3. They were 12 of 41. That was a big problem. I think the thing I really like about the game is there were 70 free throws. 70 free throws is a ton of free throws. And that is just 51 fouls, and it's just the game constantly stopping. And Tony Brothers was a referee, and they've swapped out a lot of the veteran refs. I don't know nearly as many referees as I used to. Obviously, they still know Tony Brothers. And, you survey NBA players, and they don't like Scott Foster, and they don't like Tony Brothers. And Brothers has a reputation for making the game about him and calling too many ticky-tack fouls. I will say that I got to cut him a little slack on that. Even though I didn't like the tempo of the game, I thought they called a lot of stuff. Now, they clearly missed some stuff. I mean, they were so asleep at the wheel on that goaltending call. And then shortly after that, a ball went off Holmgren's shoe out of bounds. They gave the ball to OKC. The Spurs asked, you could see, they were literally asking for the replay, and the refs just didn't give it to them. I did see people on Twitter complain. It's just like, okay, this is the worst game. They can't be this bad in this big a game. Like, man, I worked in Sacramento and I worked in Utah, and I have seen both fan bases just enraged by referees' decisions in big games, the Jazz against the Bulls and the Kings against the Lakers. And so when people say, I can't believe that happened, this can't happen at this level. Yeah, it can. It's been happening for years at this level. You can go conspiracy theory if you want. You can just say the game's hard to referee. You can say these guys are inept, whatever. We've seen it in baseball as well. Maybe we'll see less of it now with the automatic balls and strikes. They're just umpires. You wonder why they're in the major leagues. They miss so many calls. I don't know. I don't think anyone tuned in saying, man, I hope I see 51 fouls and 70 free throws tonight. But the players helped, man. There were a lot of fouls out there. There were a lot. They clearly let some stuff go. So now it's 3-2, and I would expect that the Thunder are going to win one of these last 2. I just think we're seeing the Spurs youth here. They played good games, but do they realize the level you have to sustain to win 4 times in a series? And I would say the answer to that is no. And it's also not the end of the world because they got key players who are 20, 21, and 22. The answer is no for most players 24 and under. It used to be 27 was the age. I think LeBron was 27. Jordan and Shaq were 27 when they won their first titles. Now we're starting to see players win at a slightly younger age, right? Maybe at 25, you're in your prime now. These guys play more games. They come out of college earlier and in the pros longer. And so I could buy that, but not 20, 21, and 22. They just aren't. It's a big ask. And maybe the Spurs are so talented to pull it off. But, man, that was a missed opportunity last night. You're getting your guys back. Harper's back. He's playing. He's coming off the bench. He's not good, but at least you got him. The Thunder are missing their second leading scorer. Jalen Williams is out. He's just sitting there over on street clothes on the bench. That's an opportunity. They're missing a key guy, and they're missing Mitchell, who's played well for him off the bench as well. Just doesn't matter, man. The Thunder just keep rolling. 127-114. They're up 3-2. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got Austin Ainge. We had him on during the show yesterday. We'll play that conversation for you coming up. And also, we'll go to Arizona State and ASU football, spring football tour. How good are the Devils? Need a new quarterback, but you got a coach there you can trust to develop quarterbacks. So that's on the way. Stay with us. Spring football tour coming up next right here on The Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're doing our spring football tour. If you're missing these, they're up on YouTube, wherever you want to get your podcasts. KSLSports.com. I'm linking to a lot of them on my social media feeds, Apple, Spotify, wherever you want to go, you can get them. Chris Karpman talking Arizona State football. Need a new quarterback this year, but ASU coming off first a conference title and then 6-3 in the league. You go 7-2, 6-3. You're one of the better teams in the Big 12. If they negotiate this quarterback change, you got to give it up, man. The Devils are in the top quarter, top third of the league in the long run. If they do it again, I don't see how you can say anything else. So here's Chris Karpman talking football with PK and I. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. Thanks for joining us for a spring football tour. We're trying to get Ute and Cougar fans, get them up to speed on the competition. And I think ASU is on the brink of being perennial competition. They put together 2 good years, one great year, but one good year. And I'm intrigued by the way the program is changing. I mean, times are changing, the rules are changing. But I was reading this summary of where the Devils stand after spring, and there's this line. Basically, the writer is saying. Dillingham has said that to move big, strong people, you need to have bigger, stronger people, and that the size difference this year appears obvious on the offensive line. We listen to Kyle Whittingham forever, and Kalani Sitake worked for him, so he thinks the same way. When the O-line, when the D-line, everything else gets a lot more clear. It gets a lot simpler. I've always felt like Arizona State had great skill players, but the O-line, maybe. Depends on the year. What do you think about this O-line?
Yeah, if you really zoom out even more than that, Kenny Dillingham has talked for years about Kyle Whittingham's Utah program being his North Star. When he arrived at ASU, he said the discipline, the structure, the physicality, the ability to wear on your opponents at the line of scrimmage, that was what he was pursuing. That was what he was orienting his program to try to be. So They lost Maxi Hanachor, who was a first-round NFL draft pick at right tackle, and they also lost a few other guys that were starters or part-time starters. And even with that, their offensive line looks like it hasn't lost a beat. They added Tana Alo-Tupuola from Georgia Tech. He was a starter last year as a sophomore. Remember Haynes King. They had one of the best rushing attacks in the country. And Tana Alo-Tupuola was a really big factor in that. He reminds me a lot, in fact, of Lee Faltanu, who was ASU starting center 2 years ago in the Big 12 championship season. So that's a big development. Makai Stewart was a starter last year in the second half of the season at right guard as a true freshman, and he's one of the best-looking guard prospects that I've seen at ASU in recent decades. Like, he's an NFL guy, still young, but massive. He's like 350 or close to that pounds and 6'5", very physical, heavy hands. They have at tackle 2 guys returning who started in the Sun Bowl against Duke in Jalen Clem and Chance Westbrooks, both of whom are in a reasonably decent chance to be able to start this year. So the size and physicality really at both sides of the line of scrimmage and throughout the whole team, including in their secondary, getting longer and more athletic, it definitely noticeable this spring that continues to uptick.
We know they lost Sam Levitt to the big money of LSU, Raleek Brown to the big money of Texas, and Jordan Tyson to the big money of the NFL. Now, I know that they brought in a number of transfer receivers, including a kid from Colorado like Jordan Tyson, so they're extremely high on him and a couple other guys. Quarterbacks, they brought in the kid used to be at Fresno, a kid used to be at Kentucky, started a New Mexico kid. They have a high school kid, and then the kid from El Paso. So they got a number of kids to choose from. And then I think at running back, they got Brown, the other Brown, Kyson, I think his first name is, back. He had an injury-plagued season. So could you just evaluate those three positions? Because those are three high-profile guys that they lost.
Yeah, exactly. Wide receiver looks to be in very good shape. Omarion Miller is a Colorado transfer. Jordan Tyson had transferred from Colorado also. Reed Harris transferred from Boston College. He's 6'5", 220, tremendous catch radius, had a very productive spring. He's different than guys that ASU's typically had. And then Raiden Vinesbright had 20-something catches last year as a true freshman at Washington. He's originally from Tempe. So that was arguably the top transfer trio wide receivers of any team in the country. Like Miller and Harris were both ranked in the top 5. So that's going to help ASU try to get past the loss of Jordan Tyson. And nobody's going to be as good as Tyson, but I think collectively they might actually end up being as good or better because they also returned Jalen Moss, who had a really big game in the Sun Bowl, and Jaron Hamilton, who's a big play guy, and Derek Eusebio, who's a good slot receiver. At running back, you nailed it. Like Raleek Brown, he cost like a lot of money, like probably more than what the rest of ASU's running backs combined cost between revenue share and NIL. And yet the group still looks very good. Kyson Brown got hurt, as you said, against Mississippi State. He had been the starter ahead of Raleek Brown at the beginning of last year before the injury, and he had a good spring. ASU added a kid named Marquise Gillis that I think people are going to come to learn a lot about. He ran for 1,100 yards last year at Delaware State, playing for Clinton Portis and Deshaun Jackson, and looked very good. In the second part of spring, he's 225 to 230 pounds, but still a good athlete, runs well. He's a hard dude to tackle. And they have Jason Brown, who had 130 rushing yards against Duke in the Sun Bowl. So they're, I think, going to be in good shape at running back, even with that loss. Quarterback, I think, is the most important position to evaluate on the team. Cutter Boley started as a redshirt freshman last year at Kentucky. Difficult schedule, super tough in the SEC, a little bit turnover prone. I think he had 10 interceptions and lost a few fumbles. So that's going to have to be managed. But he did a very good job in the second half of spring of avoiding any jeopardy throws in scrimmages that we saw, and looked like he's able to get the ball quickly to facilitate the offense, and he has the ability to get the ball down the field. He's 6'5", 220, big kid. So I think he's going to be the starter. I would say 80% likely that he's going to be the starter. Mikey Keene's a very good backup. He had started at Fresno State and UCF, and they have a freshman, Jake Fetty, from El Paso, who looks like a future star. He's actually quite similar to Sam Levitt in terms of his physical attributes, and his sort of talent level really, really pops. He's probably the second best looking true freshman that I've seen in spring ball in recent decades after Jaden Daniels.
We can talk about offense all we want, and I grew up watching Eric Coryell and the Chargers, so I can talk about offense all day long. But Texas Tech and BYU rode two really good defenses to the Big 12 title game. ASU was third against the rush. They were 13th against the pass. What has been done to upgrade the pass defense?
Yeah, they added a lot of experience and length. Free safety was a problem to some degree last year after Xavier Alford had a back injury that didn't allow him to play almost at all. And to try to improve that position, they added Lyric Rawls, who led Kansas in unassisted tackles last season. He's a senior veteran presence. He started at multiple Big 12 schools. I think he's come in and he immediately became a team captain, which is tough to do. So I think that's going to shore up that position. They added Ashton Stamps, corner from LSU. He was a 2-year starter, and then last year he was their number 3 corner, which at LSU is really nothing to slouch at. He was, I think, second in the SEC in 2024 in pass breakups. So with Keith Abney going to the draft, Javen Robinson going to Wisconsin, he's a really important player. They also have Rodney Bimage, who I think he's a sophomore. He's been one of their most talented young players on the roster, and I think he's kind of ready to step into a much bigger role and probably start. They added a few other transfer corners. The big thing is a lot more length. All these guys are over 6 foot, and they're longer bodied. Brian Ward, ASU's defensive coordinator, loves to play a lot of cover 3 zone, and he wanted to get guys that have more opportunity to get their hands in passing lanes and on the football. And then I think that they have a few other safeties that are very intriguing. Boogie Wilson, who started in place of Alford at free safety, will probably move down to play nickel. And Montana Warren's a team captain who's a very physical player. He's been a top backup in recent years, and he's got a very good chance now going into his junior season to play the strong safety position. Overall, I think that's kind of where they need to really show up, because I feel like their front 6 is in very good shape going into this year.
For a while there, they couldn't kick a field goal to save their lives. Last year, their punting team sucked. And so I know they had the one kicker was a senior. So tell us the status of their place kicking and their punting.
Yeah, you correctly said that. They were the worst punting team that I've ever seen. I think they were second worst nationally in net punting average. So it was awful. And Dillingham was extremely candid about his frustrations about that, and he has been the last couple of years. Their starting punter last year had a quad injury, and he was sort of like playing at maybe 80% for a lot of the year when he was able to play. But even when he was 100%, there were consistency issues, and especially with his field flipping and pin punting. And so they added Nick McClarty from Ohio State. He's an Australian. He was the backup early in his career at Ohio State. Huge leg. He's 6'7", 255 pounds.
Ooh.
And there were, I'm not exaggerating, there were like times when he hit 80+ yard punts. His consistency when they get into 11-on-11 settings in terms of how quickly he's able to go through the mechanics and get the football off, that's not as dialed in as you would want it to be. But I think he's making progress, and he has a chance to really upgrade that position.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go to the fridge for more food when ASU's punting then, because either he completely flips the field and it pins the other team and the defense. What an advantage for them, right? Or he gets it blocked and it's a score the other way. So I got to watch. I got to watch when ASU punts.
Yeah, no, it's true. When you're not worried about people coming at you, you can uncork pretty big ones consistently, and he did. But then, when you get the 11 guys out there,
it's
different.
It
was a little bit more inconsistent. Yeah,
it's different. Absolutely. Yeah, I back in the day I had some personal experience with that. I can attest that's all true. There's horrific stories.
Exactly.
Horrific. Yeah. On the whole, do people feel good enough about the direction of this program that they're going to invest in it? Because I think what we're seeing in college football now is the teams that are winning, I don't know how they do it, but somehow they get out, they find people with money, and they give. And when the team is struggling, there's a little doubt, people hold back their money. Sometimes they even say, well, I'm going to hold it back for 1 year because this coach is going to be gone. These are stories we're hearing out of Baylor, that there's money trees they can't shake because people don't completely buy into Aranda. So where does that sit? Because we know money's been a big issue with ASU.
Yeah, it's better than it's been at any point in this modern era that we're in right now. In fact, a booster named Brian Sweetie, who had been a senior executive at several major companies, including eBay and Pepsi, he's committed $10 million in an endowment that's going to be in Kenny Dillingham's name that ASU is going to be able to utilize how it wants. And then there was also around a $10 million donation that's part of a naming rights gift that's going to be on ASU's new indoor practice facility, which they're going to break ground on here in the next few months. They sold out every game last year, and I think that there's more of an ability for Dillingham to connect with boosters than his predecessors by far. So I think that there's been a pretty marked uptick in terms of the amount of support. ASU had the top 15 to 20 transfer portal class in the country, which, as you guys know, that's not possible unless you have a little bit more money to throw around to some of those transfers. I don't think ASU is quite to the level of BYU probably at this point in terms of how flush it is with cash for its roster. And certainly not close to Texas Tech, but I would put ASU in the tier that would be below those teams, like among the other best teams in the Big 12. And I think that the roster is reflecting that.
Yeah, I think you did a podcast with that Sweetie, if I remember correctly, and I listened to it. It made me a little nervous. I know that he did a few podcasts, but when he started talking about how the offense needs to be a little more creative, that made me a little uncomfortable right there because, okay, donate your money, but don't tell me how to run a football team in a program.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. The backstory on that, though, is he has a very good relationship with Kenny Dillingham, like personal relationship. In fact, he is hosting ASU staff and some other people at his home for a party in next weekend. And so there's and another aspect about Dillingham is he's extremely self-critical and very much willing to listen to people's perspectives to challenge his way of thinking. So I think that Brian Sweetie kind of goes in that mode. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that coaches really want to hear from boosters about their football opinions. Generally, I get that. I think in this particular case, though, it's given their relationship, as I understand it, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
That is hilarious, though. I like that. Although if they have that kind of relationship, he might be quoting Kenny. He might literally be quoting him. Like Kenny's like, I want to open it up, but you got to have the right guys before you open it up. So there might be that kind of conversation. Who knows?
Yeah, it's funny. During spring ball, Kenny ran over to Jalen Strong, former ASU star wide receiver, who I was talking to at the time, and he said, some words to that effect, basically, about certain types of throws and routes and whatever. I don't want to give away too much, but because it's a private thing. But I think that there's some truth to what you just said.
Yeah.
The recruiting news this week was big with the Hildebrand kid. One of the Chandler schools. I can't remember which one. He's the number one player in the state for what it's worth. And that's the first time since N'Keal Harry. Now, N'Keal Harry, I believe, was raised by his grandmother over there in the East Valley and wanted to stay local. I listened to Hildebrand. He's talking about his grandfather wants to see him play, served in multiple U.S. wars and all that stuff. So a very patriotic man there. I'm wondering, is that a circumstantial thing or more of a kind of sign of the times that finally there's a breakthrough with the Sun Devils being able to recruit some of the better players locally?
Yeah, you guys do a very good job of digging in the crates to find all of the really important things that are going on. I'm impressed. I would say it's a combination of both. His family, his grandfather has ASU season tickets. He talked to him for a while the other day. He has been going to ASU football games since 1961, and Jake Hildebrand's family is extremely close-knit and very grounded, and I think that the ability to have that support system be close to him for college was very important to him and his dad. I think it mattered a lot to him, who's been extremely involved in his athletics career to this point, and Jake grew up going to ASU football games, and it mattered a lot. But then also he said to me, look, Maxie Honachor didn't even play high school football, and 4 years later he's getting drafted in the first round, and that's not possible without the development of ASU's offensive line coach, Sanga Tuitele, who's done a very good job and turned down USC and some other big jobs. Like, he's as good as any offensive line coach that I've seen at ASU when you're factoring in the evaluations, the recruiting, the development piece, schematics. So I think, there's a little more interest in ASU locally. It's still very tough to get the top players, especially when a lot of them are being offered more money to go elsewhere. But the way that the local recruits perceive the Sun Devils has definitely changed under Dillingham's tenure.
Well, forget that old cliche, recruit the mom, recruit the grandparents. That seems to be paying off.
Yeah. I mean, when you can. That's
right,
when
you can, sure. Yeah. All right, well, Chris, we appreciate – one last thing before I let you go. PK is an ASU grad, so that's part of the reason – it's a big part of the reason we're so dialed in on the program. And one of his theories – and I'll ask this so it doesn't sound as bad as when it comes out of his mouth. One of his theories, though, is both Arizona and ASU have had problems keeping local guys home. Both of them have had big years but have had problems sustaining it. But there's actually – maybe there's an opportunity here. Do you think there's a chance that – Arizona can follow up what they did last year and ASU can follow up what they did the last 2 years? That would be kind of a high watermark for the two programs together.
Yeah, I haven't studied Arizona's roster departures and arrivals quite as well. I think that they probably are not going to take a big step back, if it is at all. I think ASU looks definitely like a bowl team. It's hard to really compare that to what other Big 12 teams look like right now because we're in this world in which the transfer portal changes so much. So, but look, Dillingham is really good. I can't stress enough. Like, I've gotten to know these coaches personally, the last 5 ASU football coaches. He's superior. Like, he's easily more impressive when you actually get into the weeds on issues and you talk about things at any level of depth. I think he's competitive, hungry. He could have gone to Michigan. I don't know how clearly that's been really reported, but Michigan aggressively courted Kenny Dillingham before hiring Kyle Whittingham. Not saying that he's a better coach than Kyle Whittingham by any stretch, but he is a lot younger and of the same ilk in a lot of ways. And Dillingham decided to stay, and he did that because of the support that he feels like is in place at ASU and the opportunity that they have in the Big 12. So I don't really see ASU taking any sort of a big dip to the backward, even after losing so many starters.
All right, there is Chris Karpman, the Spring Football Tour, and we'll take a break. When we come back, Austin Ainge talking hoops and jazz and the draft and summer moves. Stay with us.
That sound could mean a lot of things. And when something's going wrong at home, the hardest part can be figuring out what the problem actually is. At Thumbtack, you can upload a voice message or a photo, and our AI-powered search will help diagnose your project. Plus, the pros we know have over 14 million 5-star reviews, so you can hire with confidence. Thumbtack, we know homes. Hire the right pro today.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
No, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Austin Ainge gave us a few minutes yesterday. Looking ahead at the draft, we're about a month out. What are the Jazz going to do? How many things do they definitely know at this point? How many things still have to be known and learned and more research to be done? Austin Ainge addressing that with PK and I right here on the Zone.
Austin, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
The draft is still a few weeks away here. Do you have an idea how it's going to play out now? I know you've been working on it for a while, but there's still time for curveballs here. What's your level of confidence that you could predict now what's going to happen then?
Well, I will say that, all the permutations to 2 are a little easier than in years past, DJ. But, no, I don't think we know. I'm not sure the teams know. I'm not sure we know exactly what we're going to do. I don't know if other teams are either. There's still a lot of information that can be gained in this time of year, and everyone tries to go slow and get it right.
Yeah, Austin, that leads me into my very first question. Because it's 2 draft position as opposed to 5 and 6 and so forth, the field as far as potentials are a little more narrow, obviously, because it's higher. What type of work that does you and your people, your staff, the management need to do between now and, I guess, draft night, knowing that it's a little bit different because you are drafting so high?
Yeah, so kind of this time of year, what we do is we pour over the medical stuff, right? That's a huge thing that we have not had access to in the past, and we make sure we get experts to look at any issues that arise. And, these guys all got tested in various different ways at the combine, and we'll be getting some of these things, some of these reports in this week. And so we'll do a lot of that work. We will get a chance to meet with these guys again and talk with them and try to get them to know them better as people. And then we continue to watch film. We'll go back and watch, in some cases all the way back through their high school seasons and through their college season, and just, with a narrowed focus on a narrow range now, we'll go just extra deep and make sure we've got the full scope and all the information fresh in our minds and do the best we can.
In the past, we've seen the Jazz draft, whatever year, 8, 10, 15, and they bring a lot of guys through for workouts. And you see a lot of players who end up, Steven Adams came through at one point, they didn't draft him, but you see players like that who go into really good careers. But what's the cutoff? I know the top guys don't usually work out, and when you're drafting too, I don't know if guy 10 wants to work out for you and spend all that energy and get on a flight. What is the cutoff there as far as getting guys to work out for you?
Yeah, your instinct is right there that the guys that feel like they're and that we communicate that we're serious about, will come in, but it's not a huge list. And the guys at this range of the draft, it was the same last year at 5. They come in and typically do an interview and then a little shooting workout, not live against other people. And so, there's a limited amount of information you can gain from that, and we try to not overrate it or underrate it, just properly put it in its place and add it to the pile of information we're gathering. I would say the most important thing is we just get them to spend time with coach and us and have a dinner and have a breakfast and just really get to know them as people, because honestly, none of these players are ready-made. None of them are good enough right now. They all need to progress, and who they are determines that as much as their talent.
So all of us are fired up about the draft, but everything happens so quickly because then you have the free agency that hits immediately, basically right afterward, and maybe a day or two or a week between, but you get the point. And so we focus on the draft, but how about adding talent through trade acquisitions or free agency? How much of that do you anticipate?
Definitely some. It's hard to anticipate exactly how much, but we'll try to be aggressive, appropriately aggressive, in adding and making our team better. We have some free agents of our own from the team. There's some free agents out there. We'll
we could go a few different directions to address some of the weaknesses, and some of that will be determined by which position we draft, right? So there's a lot to do, and yeah, most of our roster is built in that end of June, beginning of July, and it's a busy time and an important time. So we've got a lot of work to do. The teams in the West are really good, and the teams in the league are really smart, and the rules will be different next year. So there'll be a lot of changes. It'll be a lot more competitive and challenging, and we're very aware that we got to take a big jump here in a lot of different ways. But we're pretty excited about the group, the talent level, and some of the progress we're seeing from some of the players.
Obviously, the other roster moves depend on which player you end up getting with the draft, but you can't draft a veteran. Do you need a veteran ball handler or two around the perimeter?
Well, it's definitely something we're looking at. I mean, look, there's the way I would say it, DJ, is that you've got specific needs, and sometimes those needs are glaring enough that you just go get a player that fits them. Mm-hmm. But they have to be good enough in the end, right? So, yeah. I want a shooter, I want a shot blocker, I want a ball handler. But if they're not good enough to play in the playoffs, then it doesn't help you. So we have to be able to get the guys that are good enough to play. And I think we have an amazing coaching staff that I think can figure a lot of things out. So I would say need is definitely a discussion, but also overall quality. And you're just balancing those things.
You talk about getting guys who are good enough to play. This question excludes Ace Bailey and Kante George, but there was a number of guys who've been brought on the team in the last 3 years. Do you believe that they are good enough?
I mean, some of them, and some of them are getting better every day, and they just need to be good enough by the playoffs or by the regular season. So we've got a lot of guys getting better. I feel like we've got a number of guys that can play. Some of it is also the role you're put in, right?
Yeah,
if you're asked to do too much, sometimes as a young player, you can look inefficient or out of place. And then, when the top of the roster is a little more in place, their job gets easier or a little more focused. And, but a lot of this remains to be seen. We got a lot of figuring out to do in the season, and a lot of competition going on for those minutes and possessions and role. And I'm really excited for it. Our guys are pumped. They're in the gym right now working out. We've got a big group, including Jaren. He's looking great, looking healthy, and pumped.
Defensively, this team has been 29th or 30th for quite a stretch, going over a couple of years now. And obviously there's a lot of reasons for that, and some of those reasons are going to go away. How good can they get and how quickly? Can this be a top 10 defensive team next year? Can it be top 5? It's going to be a lot of size and athletic ability, which ought to help.
Yeah, I mean, we sure hope we make a big jump there. That was definitely a big consideration in bringing in Jaren, who's a former Defensive Player of the Year and a guy who can cover up a lot of weaknesses of other players and can play multiple positions. But we also know that, one player can't do it all. So we need improvement throughout the roster, and we need, defense is also something we're considering strongly in the draft and in free agency. So I think there's a lot of ways we need to address it: internal improvement, external improvement, and just a little more size and talent on the floor should help all those things. I have high expectations for this group in a big improvement, but I'm trying to avoid specific numbers. I don't like putting the pressure or the limits of numbers, right? I don't want to put limits on these guys, nor do I want to put the pressures, but we try to put pressure in process. And so far, I'm very pleased seeing how hard everyone's working and the focus on even the player development on defense. It will be a big emphasis all summer.
Journalism these days, particularly sports journalism, as you know full well, it's devolved into sources said, right? Sources are all over the place these days, I guess. And so obviously, the Jazz have reached out to Washington. I'm going to ask you a general question, so it's not anything specific. But when deals are made, what is the process in terms of Team A calling Team B or Team B calling Team A? Could you just walk us through generally how these things work?
Yeah. Well, I will say, PK, the way things generally work is not you call and make a trade offer the day after the lottery. So that was pretty ridiculous. So generally trades happen like this, right? Like we talk all the time with other teams. We see each other at places like the Combine and Summer League, in college games and NBA games and G League games, and we call and we check in periodically. During the season, I would say once a month. During this time of year, more frequently, and we have conversations. And who do you like? Who do you not like? What are you looking for? What type of players do you need? And then if there's we maybe have extras of something and they need something, maybe, okay, do you like these guys? No. What about at this price? No. And we just kind of communicate in general terms about kind of our goals and needs as a team. Well, hey, we kind of like this guy, if you ever like to move him. And then maybe a year later they come back and said, hey, we're thinking of moving this guy, or we're looking for this. Is this something you'd still be interested in? You just kind of have these general conversations a lot, and to get a feel for where teams are at. And it's of both teams' interests to communicate a little bit what we're trying to do so we can try to get something done, right? If there's something that works for both teams. And then, if there's something that in general terms makes a little bit of sense, you go, okay, I'd give you a first-round pick for that guy, or I'd give you 2 seconds for this point guard. And they go, oh, no, that's way too high. And you say, well, let us know if there's anything. And then you both hang up and you just sit and wait and see if anybody budges. So it's not like you're not like convincing people. They all have their own evaluations, just like we do. So you don't sit there and try to sell, well, this guy has really done this and this and this, and look at his stats. Like, they roll their eyes. They don't want to hear that, So it's really just kind of look, I'd do it at this price, but not at this. If you want to come back, call me, or if you want to add in this other player, and you just kind of do general terms. And it's a lot of sitting and waiting, and seeing if something budges. So that's kind of how it goes.
All right, there's Austin Ainge. Thanks to him for coming on. We appreciate that. When we come back, what is trending? Headlines are next.
That sound could mean a lot of things. And when something's going wrong at home, the hardest part can be figuring out what the problem actually is. At Thumbtack, you can upload a voice message or a photo, and our AI-powered search will help diagnose your project. Plus, the pros we know have over 14 million 5-star reviews, so you can hire with confidence. Thumbtack, we know homes. Hire the right pro today.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Shay, how did your play as a group match the magnitude of this game?
We just played to who we were tonight. We should have. I might have had the worst start to a basketball game in my career, but the group held it down, kept us in the game. Somehow we still won the first quarter, but that's just a testament to the guys in the locker room. Oh, I've been saying it all year. We're a group of 1 through 15. No, we wouldn't be this deep in the season without the guys, everybody on the team, and it just showed again tonight.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 32 points, and the Oklahoma City Thunder win Game 5, 127-114 over the Spurs. They lead the series 3-2. PK, A lot of stuff going on in that game. That was a bad start for them, but they did win the first quarter. They rallied pretty quick. They had a 20-point lead and let them back in the game, but they still won by 13.
Win the first quarter.
And
or by 2. You don't win anything.
70 free throws in that game. Yikes.
Well, I think the key is to have 2 of your guys go 7 of 19 from the field, like McCain and SGA did. Somehow, that is freaky.
Weird stats, weird numbers.
But then the other guys, and that's not a good shooting percentage. It's not terribly awful.
You're right. It's not good.
But,
it's down in the 30s.
You'd expect more from SGA and probably McCain, too. But then you look at everybody else. They were hardly missing. So you take out those 2 guys, 6 for 8, 6 for 9, 3 for 7, 5 for 10, 3 for 3. That's pretty doggone good. And then, of course, you factor in, you said the free throws that SGA is getting 17 and he's converting 16, and you can see why they would have a good chance to win. And they did, obviously. And they won comfortably again.
Won the backboards, 48-41. Wembayama only getting 6 boards. That was a little eye-raising. He did not shoot the ball well, 4 of 15.
I think it's eyebrow-raising. It's not eye-raising. No.
I raise my eyebrows and my eyes together. They seem to be attached.
I mean, you'll try to save face on that, and I'll let you, so I won't stop doing that. You're distracting me.
Somebody better save my face from myself.
But the thing that I've come away with as I've watched these games with a level of interest that wasn't just passing, flipping through to get to the next Jazz game, is that I've been very much so impressed with Hartenstein, or Stein, however you say it. The guy's he's got a role, and he's fulfilling the role at a high level. And I didn't really realize he was capable of doing this. And that's very important to this team because they need some physical play because they've got a lot of highly skilled guys. Holmgren isn't a banger. He's highly skilled.
Right.
So you need some bangers.
Need some beef.
And Isaiah has been really doing it well.
Yeah. 12 points, 15 boards for him. He's got that little one-handed half floater, half push shot, whatever it is, from about that 10 to 15 foot range. He can drop that thing over Wembayama.
And I didn't know that.
No, I didn't either. I think the thing that I'd seen a little bit of him, so I knew who he was supposed to be, but his consistency game to game is, like you said, in the regular season, they're playing a Central Time Zone game. Maybe you watch a quarter of it, and then you're off to watch the Jazz game.
Right.
Or the Mammoth game, or the BYU game, or whatever.
On the side of the country.
Right. But no, I haven't watched him night to night. Under the pressure he's under to perform here, the game 1 matchup, and they tried something different. And since then, he's the guy, and he gets 12 and 15, while Big Vic gets 20 and 6. Pretty much a standstill. Mm-hmm. And Holmgren's over here. I mean, he disappeared in some early games in the series, but that was a strong performance. 16 points, 11 boards out of him.
Yeah.
If those 2 guys do that again, 28 points, 26 boards combined, they're going to win one of these last 2 games, and they're going to win the series. Those are really good performances. All right, we'll have more on this game coming up later this morning. Barry Tramel, sports columnist for the Tulsa World, will be here to talk about Oklahoma City. We will chat with him at 9 o'clock. The other news, Joe Mazzulla is the NBA Coach of the Year, the 4th Celtic coach to win the award. He led Boston to the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference, but they got knocked out by the Knicks. Go ahead.
I mean, that's a regular season award.
That is a regular season award. They just announced it now.
I'm not raising an eye over that one whatsoever.
Okay. Raising an eye? What kind of a sentence is that? I think you meant eyebrow.
But what I will say is 1 year from now, William H. Hardy.
Aha!
He's winning it.
From the 20, 30, 40 game improvement, whatever it is they end up having here.
Right.
We can all make our predictions, but yeah.
Right. And the fact that he stuck it out for 4 years when he was in line to get the Boston job, but he didn't know that the guy, what's-his-face, was over there in Houston, was going to have the issue to get kicked out, basically.
You okay, Yuck? Someone punch you in the larynx?
No, apparently.
Did you mean Ime Udoka?
Ime Udoka, yeah.
Ime
Udoka. Yes, he has some Eastern Utah ties, doesn't he?
Yeah, he coached at
Something like
CEU.
And Mike Brown, his brother played football for the Utes. Did you know that?
I did not.
I learned that yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
We got ties.
I've known that
Look
for
at
a while. Yeah.
Okay.
I saw something on him when he was in town years ago because he's been a coach for a number of teams now, and he was talking about that. But yeah, they're gonna reward Hardy. There's no doubt in my mind that he stuck it out because he could have been the Boston coach, but the timing wasn't there. He didn't know what was going to happen, and then he's been losing here for 4 years, and his hair has stayed on his head and stayed the same color. So you have to admire him for that. He hasn't pulled out his hair.
Go gray and then pull it out.
For all this losing, and they're going to win next year, and so he's going to get it.
Despite the fact the Cavs were swept and there were some baffling comments, Kenny Atkinson will remain as head coach for the Cavs next season after leading Cleveland to the Eastern Conference Final. DJ and PK.
#NFL.
Patrick Mahomes' recovery from the torn ACL and the torn LCL continues. He's back on the practice field for the first time in their OTA practices. He was wearing a knee brace on the knee, but progress for Patrick Mahomes.
I'm going to have to adjust because for the better part of a decade, I like quarterbacks and I like offense. I don't have a team, so I just like the ball being thrown all over the place and exciting offensive plays. I don't mind defense, but I'm more of an offensive guy. So for the better part of a decade, Aaron Rodgers has been my favorite quarterback to watch play in his prime for Green Bay, right?
He's on TV a lot. He's thrown it all over the place. He can run a little bit too,
right,
so yeah, sure.
And so obviously he's done after this season, and I'm going to have to come up with a new favorite quarterback. And I've been thinking about this. Well, since the weekend, I've been thinking about it a lot. And Mahomes is going to be in that category. I've liked Justin Herbert because he came on our show a couple years in a row when he was when we were doing Pac-12 and he had a good personality. Yeah. But I think that
Josh Allen
is another guy. A guy who was woefully under-recruited, obviously, and goes to Wyoming. And I've always had a soft spot for my Wyoming fans. I know they take a lot of grief, but by and large, I was treated as well as any place I'd ever been on the road all those years traveling by the Wyoming fans. So, yeah. But I think that undeniably, in light of life, my new favorite quarterback, Jackson Dart.
Way with Corner Canyon.
He did.
So you've got a tie there.
Yeah. There's some other ties.
I know.
That's the reason.
It's not.
What is the reason? I watched that kid play.
Yeah.
Religiously.
Mm-hmm.
Every game.
And when you saw him do stuff, it was eye-raising.
It was heartwarming.
Heartwarming. It's 70-7. We go to the third quarter. My heart is warmed.
You'll see it. I like all this stuff. Oh, will they block for him? What? They're trying to stay in the league.
I know. It is just.
They're going to block for themselves.
Because he introduces the president, it becomes public. But do you think in a locker room of 53 guys, you could find 10 people for sure who voted for one guy and 10 people for sure who voted for another person?
I don't care who they voted for.
I know. You can find 10 people who didn't vote in the locker room.
This is America. You can vote for whoever you want. But the conversation has swayed to, they won't block for him. These guys want to be in the league.
Yeah. And like their paydays.
They got to block for themselves, or else you're gone.
It's all on film. Your win rate is graded out almost immediately.
Yeah. Literally, from multiple angles, every practice is filmed.
Yes. True story. Absolutely. There's always a camera in the end zone up high. There's always a camera on the sideline up high.
And they do that at the college level, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so they want to stay in the league. There's no way you're going to make that money anywhere else. So, yes, that's a dumb discussion. You want to discuss something else? Go ahead, but not that.
People getting paid. Chargers give star safety Derwin James, I think I can handle that name, the highest paid safety in the NFL, second time in his career because he gets an extension, 3 years, $75.6 million contract extension, including a new $57.5 million worked into that guaranteed deal.
He's not going to play the way he's supposed to because the Chargers coach has been pictured with the president.
See?
Where do you stop? You can't just isolate it. You got to carry it all the way out, right?
Don't tempt people with a good time.
The Houston Texans rewarded two-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Nico Collins with a newly reworked 2-year deal. He'll get an extra $9 million this year, an extra $8 million next year. He's due almost $30 million, $29.875 million this year. So, big money for Nico Collins.
Way to go, Nick. Josh
Jacobs, Packer star running back, arrested and booked yesterday. Several domestic violence charges, according to the Hobart Lawrence Police Department, which is Hobart Lawrence is somewhere in Wisconsin. He faces 1 felony count and 4 additional misdemeanors stemming from an incident Saturday. His attorneys denied the allegations. So that will sort itself out. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
You'll be shocked by this headline, PK. Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby's appeal for reinstatement denied. Texas Tech announced they'll appeal the decision on his behalf. He'll also pursue an injunction via lawsuit against after being ruled ineligible. That'll happen next Monday in a court hearing. So the initial decision, no, and now they'll appeal the decision and they'll take it to court. So 2 different paths there to see if they can get that flipped.
I don't know how the appeal would work, and nor do I know how the injunction. But I would think you'd have the better chance with the injunction than you would the appeal.
Taking the appeal back to the exact same people who just told you no.
Yeah,
I think you're right about that. I don't know that he has a great chance with either one, but I would think the better one would be in court. The SEC will do away with their annual Cupcake Week in the next to last weekend of the regular season as the league voted to play conference games on that weekend. It'll take effect next season. This is part of the fallout of SEC going from 8 to 9 conference games. And, of course, playing the Citadel the week before the rivalry games, the Saturday before Thanksgiving, had been a long-time tradition in the SEC. So how do you view this? This is... see that ESPN's paying for all the league's games and they need more good games, so they lean on them to get this done. Or TV doesn't have the power because the networks would have been leaning on them for the last 20 or 30 years to do this, and they couldn't get it done until now. Which of those seems...
I think it was more the SEC deciding to go to the extra game. I think, you can't really go back into history because history strongly favored the SEC. But now that the money is above board and on the table instead of under, the SEC's power has been reduced. But before, the SEC had enormous power because they were winning at high levels. We had multiple times, right, where the 2 teams were playing each other from the same conference.
Right. They were always represented in the title game. They usually won the title game. Right. And you're right, there were a couple times where they were going to win it because they had both teams.
And those times are over.
It does appear to be true.
Consistently. It may happen again. You never say never. But they don't have the influence and the power. And the fact is, it's obvious because other people can pay what you've been doing for years.
They are 2-8 versus the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the ACC in the playoff over the last 3 years. They've got a G5 win, and they do have a couple playoff games where they played each other. But when they're playing one of the other 3 power leagues, they get 2 wins and 8 losses in the last 3 years.
Yes, so
it's a major slippage from where they were.
They're not going to have that power, and I think there's pressure. But I was listening to Brett McMurphy as I was literally coming in the building this morning, and he was talking about some of these coaches feel that they were hoodwinked. Because they thought that agreeing to this was in conjunction with an expanded playoff. And now they're not sure, so maybe they would have voted differently, but they were assuming that there would be...
That it's going to 16 or 24, and now maybe stuck at 12.
Yes.
So they're going to take more losses, but they're not going to have access to more playoff berths.
Right, so they thought it was hand in hand, is what he was saying.
Steve Sarkisian, not reprimanded or punished by the SEC for his recent comments about basket weaving and the requirements to get a degree from Ole Miss, but he said it was a poor choice of words.
Why is this another BYU guy popping off?
He's been talking a lot lately. He had something about he was worried about the future of the sport because the coach was in the semifinals, was fired 5 games later.
Talking about James Franklin.
Yeah, he's talking about James Franklin at Penn State.
They'll always stick up for themselves.
Right. But are you worried about the sport because a coach quit on a team that was preparing for a playoff game and went to a rival school inside the conference? Are you worried for the sport for that? Are you worried for the sport for all the people who are leaving with 8-figure buyouts?
Yeah, but I mean, coaches are always going to stick up for one another. I mean, you listen to Jeff Van Gundy. Has anybody ever coached a bad game in his life?
Not as far as he can tell. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Swinging a high drive, deep right field. That ball is gone, and it's a grand slam for Jesus Sanchez.
Driving one toward right center field. Moving back is Vierling. He's at the warning track near the wall. It's gone! It's gone! A grand slam! Vaughn Grissom has put the Angels in front. He's driven in 6 tonight.
He swings, hits a high drive to left and deep. This ball back, and this ball is gone. A home run. Betts' second home run of the night. A 3-run shot.
Highlights from around Major League Baseball. There were a lot of blowouts yesterday, PK. There's a lot of teams going big. One of them was the Dodgers, who absolutely annihilated the Rockies 15-6. The note in that game was Shohei Ohtani gets hit on the hand by a pitch, leaves the game. He's scheduled to pitch tonight. They're saying he's still going to pitch tonight. We'll see if he bats tonight. They didn't need him in a 15-6 blowout of the Rockies at Chavez Ravine.
That's a fact.
Some of the other games there that got completely out of hand. The Yankees beat the Royals 15-1. So the Yankees chasing the Rays. Got the complete domination there.
First ever time that all 9 starters in Yankee uniforms had 2 hits at least each.
Oh, Maron.
Pirates 12-1 over the Cubbies. Cubs have lost 10 in a row, and they lose 10 in style.
I mean, I think that, it goes back to Frank. That's life. You're riding high in April, shut down in May.
And there they are, and they're shut down in May. Here we are, end of May, and they've already had 2 10-game win streaks and a 10-game losing streak.
But I'm going to change my tune because I'll be back on top in June.
They're down 5-0 in the first inning, so, at least they battled for a while.
I said, that's life.
Blue Jays smoked the Marlins 8-1, and the Rangers 10-7 over the Astros. Ton of runs scored in that game. High-scoring games out there yesterday. Former Brave star Bob Horner, who was the number 1 pick in 1978 out of Arizona State University, passed away at the age of 68. Bob Horner and Dale Murphy were the heart of the Braves lineup in the 1980s.
Bob Horner was in my heart. Apollo High School, Glendale, Arizona. Every kid who ever imagined hitting a baseball at that time
wanted to be Bob Horner.
He was the man. Local legend. He was to baseball in that area at that time when I was growing up what Danny White was to football. To give you an idea.
Yeah.
And then he goes to ASU and just was a superstar. The number 1 pick, did not go to the minors, was right in there. It was the biggest story ever when I was a kid. They had to put up a huge extension in left field at Apollo High School because there were homes behind the left field.
He kept hitting the ball into the houses.
Yes.
Put a net up there.
Right.
We're tired of the insurance claims.
It was a huge net that went all the way. Now, it wasn't like a big, it wasn't a half circle. Mm-hmm. It was one of these things where it was just left field, and then center field would have been 900 feet away.
Right.
It just.
But they needed it at least from the foul pole or a little bit to the
left
foul
center.
territory out into left center.
Yeah.
Get into the power alley.
Because he would just pop them over.
Some district administrator was like, another claim, what is going on?
And obviously 68 is way young, and he was a legend, and he and Dale Murphy were the Braves at that time. If you watched on the Superstation, you would know. Remember.
Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, now a minority owner of his hometown Cleveland Guardians, buys a stake in the franchise. The quote, I've been lucky enough to have a front row seat to good ownership in my career, and I know the best teams prioritize culture. Everyone is there to play their role, and right now I'm here to observe and learn and really support the team in the city when and where I can.
I think that's absolutely awesome, man. You're gonna use football. You're not gonna let football use you. And you made a lot of money. You got a lot of fame. You got Taylor and all that stuff. But and he was on the front row when the Cavs were playing. Mm-hmm. But to take some of your money and invest it in your hometown team, and then be a businessman going forward, because obviously it's either this year or next year. Probably you're done, and so don't just be wasting your money. This is really cool.
Salt Lake Bees beat the Round Rock Express 7-1 in the series opener. Same two teams tonight. Tony Parks will be on the air at 5:30 on 1280 The Zone. First pitch at 5:45. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
This one will go to the final seconds, and this one is a home ice clincher. For the first time in franchise history, the Knights clinch the Western Conference at T-Mobile Arena.
Vegas sweeps Colorado. They win Game 4 2-1. They are going to the Stanley Cup Final again, 3 times in their 9-year existence. They take down the 1 seed in the West, the best record in the regular season, and they sweep the Avs, who had been flying through the playoffs in the first 2 rounds. But Vegas, how about as a late season coaching? This isn't even mid-season coaching change. This is a late season coaching change. Got a few others maybe we can recall, but I don't recall anything this late having this dramatic. I think Ty Lue replacing David Blatt in Cleveland. They went on with the title. I think that was a December call. It seems to me that was a little before halfway. Jack McKeon with the Marlins was like a May or June hire, I think. This was way late. I mean, they had like 9 or 10 games left, something like that.
Well, in honor of the Las Vegas Golden Knights, I have no comment.
Oh, look at you. That's going to cost you a draft pick. Tonight, Carolina-Montreal, Game 4 in the East. Carolina's up 2-1. They'll play Game 4 tonight. Winner of that series is going to get Vegas in the Stanley Cup Finals. That game's on TNT tonight. Evgeny Malkin will return for his 21st year in the NHL. Pittsburgh giving him 1 year, $5.5 million. The soon-to-be 40-year-old wants to keep playing, staying with the only team he's been with. That is what is trending, brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Mike Folta will be here to talk Vegas to the Stanley Cup Finals. We'll talk playoffs with Mike, radio voice of your Utah Mammoth, and then Barry Tramel, sports columnist for the Tulsa World on the Oklahoma City Thunder at 9 o'clock. It's also Win Tickets Wednesday. We got a 5-pack of tickets to watch the Utah Royals and the Orlando Pride at America First Field. We give those away coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. DJ and PK, the question of the day is next. Stay with us.
They've been doing it for a while.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Man, the myth, the legend, Thurl Big T. Bailey. I'm not sure how much you've had a chance to watch A.J. DiBonza, but you have any thoughts if you have been able to see him a little bit?
Personally, I think he's the best player right now in that group. I did get a chance to watch all these guys play, maybe A.J. a little bit more, but he's been groomed for the next level. You look at what BYU was running. The offenses look like NBA offenses. The ISOs look like ISOs. He's becoming a really good playmaker as well. Just a great season, far and above player of the year in college. I would be surprised if Washington didn't take him. He's going to be nice. It's not going to be perfect for him coming in at this level. He's going to have to learn some things, the physicality, the speed of the game, the number of games, potential rookie wall, but everybody goes through those things. He's going to be a great player in this league.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now it's the final days of our Everything's on Sale event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses. Our Memorial Day event ends Monday. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Thumbtack presents Tile Trouble. Every single time I use my sink, I make eye contact with the uneven grout on my kitchen backsplash. The crooked corners eye me, and I'm haunted by more tiling questions than I thought possible. What kind of pro can fix a backsplash? Can I replace one cracked tile, or should I replace them all? What if I just use Thumbtack? I can hire top-rated pros, read reviews, and compare prices with a tap, all on the app. Thumbtack knows homes. Download the app today.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car is gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
The KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to Jake and Ben for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Well, PK, there's some interesting trade ideas out there. Will they fly? Oklahoma City has the 12th pick and the 17th pick, and they want to move up in the draft. Obviously, they got a lot of young players, so some combination of players and picks. One player, one pick, multiple players, multiple picks. Oklahoma City seems to have a lot of options there. Should the Jazz be interested? My initial reaction to that is no.
Mine is yes.
My second reaction to that is there a star in the package? That's the whole point of drafting two, right? Is to get somebody who's a game changer. Someone who you want, and you don't always get it, obviously, but you want to get somebody who's got the kind of talent that everybody's got a game plan for, and you just put that person out there, and their talent gives you an obvious edge almost every time they walk on the floor, if not every time they walk on the floor. Now, we were discussing this yesterday. There aren't that many players who fit that, but maybe there's one in this draft. If they trade out, and Oklahoma City would be trading up because they think they can get one of those players because they want one of those players, are you going to get one of those players off Oklahoma City? The way they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander away from the Clippers.
Yes. That's why you need to consider it. Considering can be a long way away from doing.
Yes.
And so I think you have to look at it from that perspective. But to me, the name that jumps out is Chet Holmgren. He's
under the theory they're not going to be able to pay everybody and he could be available.
He just turned 24 earlier this month.
So he fits your timeline.
Yes. And he was a number 2 pick.
He was.
And so there's a lot of things that factor into it. If you get Holmgren and 2 other picks, now, who's to say you use those picks, you don't turn around and use those picks to move up yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the, what was the deal that really changed the fortunes of the Celtics?
When they traded Paul Pierce?
No.
To Brooklyn trade?
Earlier.
The Ray Allen with the number 5 pick?
Earlier.
How early we go?
The Larry Bird era. With
the Warriors.
Yeah, wasn't it something like that? We gave you something, and we got multiples.
Yeah, I think they gave up the pick that became Joe Barry Carroll.
But that was for the Warriors, and they got back McHale.
Yeah, I want to say they moved down. Yeah,
and they got somebody else. It wasn't
Parrish.
So yeah,
I think it was Parrish.
So okay,
they got Parrish and a draft pick. The draft pick became McHale. I want to say they moved down from like 1 to 5 or something. But I have to go back and look that up.
That changed everything.
Okay.
Most folks, at least arguably, consider that the best front line of all time with obviously those 3 guys. So if you get Holmgren, let's just say it's Holmgren, and there may be other factors, but the most important thing is, okay, we get the 2 picks, we get Holmgren, then we take those 2 picks and move up to 7th or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all hypothetical. We're throwing stuff against the wall.
But I get your point. Then the fact that there's supposed to be 8, 9, 10 players, depending on who you talk to and who you read, that are really good. And if you can somehow move
into that group again, maybe you move one of your young players.
Right. There'll be other factors.
Right.
Saying,
I mean,
there'll be other
there's somebody who's looking at
moved.
Sensabaugh and really wants him. They're looking at Filipowski or Collier, who've all shown something.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah. And so then you're walking out of there with Chet Holmgren and Acuff. Is that better than walking out of there with Boozer or Peterson or even DeBonsa?
Especially if you really buy into those guys.
And you want DeBonsa in Washington saying, unless you give us Ace Bailey, this is no deal. So you don't get your guy that you really... Now, we're just assuming here. We're for sake of argument.
But let's make a lot of assumptions. Yeah. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, that they decide whatever's going on with Peterson, they just don't want to buy into that. That's like there's something going on. There's too much. They don't buy it. And they can't get DeBonsa. Washington's demanding a massive haul.
Yeah, and you're not going to give...
They're not interested in that.
Ace.
You're not even remotely close to coming to terms with them.
Right. It's just not going to happen.
So now you're looking at what you do with the two. Because what you need to walk away from this in this draft is this is your chance to get a game changer, and it's your last best chance for a while because you're going to be pretty good. I mean, you can draft somebody at 20. Giannis Antetokounmpo was in the middle of the first round. The Joker's in the second round. You might get that.
Yeah, or
but your odds aren't.
Picks that you have with Minnesota and Cleveland made.
You might catch a break there. Yeah. But this looks like your last best chance, and you paid a high price to get here. You had to flush away a season, multiple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to come away with an impact player.
Okay, so I have this impact player if I can move up, and I have Holmgren. I'm going to sneeze at that? No.
That's the kind of thing you should consider.
Yeah.
If that kind of thing is in play.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. You'd be foolish.
To go back to your previous example with Joe Barry Carroll. I can barely say his real name. If you look at him, and in that era, the Celtics didn't buy in on him. I mean, he was a big 7-footer when you needed a low post guy and a 7-footer. But if they're looking like, no, they're like, okay.
Well, they got their 7-footer.
Who can we get? Right? And so they're looking at McHale and Parrish, and they think they can make a deal and get those guys.
So they got their vet, and they got their star rookie.
Yep. And then over
here. Parallels are striking. I got my vet, and I got my rookie.
They have an awesome front line, and they become borderline impossible to match up with.
And they were set for a decade. Yeah. And away they went. Good on them. That's what I'm talking about. Who knows if it can be done? Probably can't be done, but we're throwing stuff out there. And obviously Oklahoma City, they want to move up to 2. Who wouldn't want to move up to 2? And they've got some assets. They've got young players, and they've got 2 picks.
And I think on top of that, it sounds like they're dealing from a position of strength.
Well, they want to throw it out there to begin with.
And to a degree they are, but I think... what Danny Ainge has a little, in the best sense of it, a little Mo Green in him. He doesn't. Someone can initially tell you they've got the upper hand, and Danny seems to play poker until he has the upper hand. And with the Thunder, they got a lot of picks, and they got a lot of players, but the weakness is you can't put all those players and all those draft picks on your roster. You don't have enough roster spots. So you've got to move picks and players and consolidate them and try to consolidate them into high-end talent, because otherwise you're just going to have to let guys go.
Yeah.
They have so many picks and so many players. It's phenomenal. I don't really recall an example of a team not having enough roster spots for all the good players. But when they're putting their 14th and 15th best paid players out on the court because they have to, and the guys are producing, and they're still sitting on multiple picks in multiple years, they've kind of painted themselves in a corner here. You have too much of a good thing. So them doing a 3 or 4 for 1, I totally get why they'd want to do that. And for them, I get that they would call the Jazz and talk. As Ainge said, everybody talks all the time. You see each other.
Austin, yeah.
Yeah, as Austin
if I'm Austin, I call them too.
100%, yes. You're absolutely having conversations with them because they have too much of a good thing. They've got too many players and too many picks. They're going to have to make a move, or they're going to have to let guys walk.
Right.
And Holmgren, for people who are listening and scoffing this, I've read stuff. I'm sure you have too. You probably heard it when you listen to the NBA satellite channel. They can't pay everybody. And so which guy are they going to let go? Well, they're not going to let SGA go. Now, who are the next 2 or 3 best players? You can see why they would let Holmgren go. They can't pay everybody. And they could get a lot back for him. So if they want to get into the top of
a really good draft, why wouldn't his name come up?
Right. And I've also heard they would probably start with Cody Williams' older brother, Jalen.
Again.
Who was an all-star. He's been injured frequently this season. Is not playing right now.
They were saying 4 different hamstring injuries over the course of the season.
So what's up with that? So, but I would up the ante. And he's a nice player.
He is a good player.
But I would up the ante. I would go for Holmgren. Because I'm exchanging a number 2 pick for a number 2 pick and a player. I think Holmgren made the All-Star team out of the West this year, didn't he? They had to because Williams was hurt, and you can't just give the Thunder one player. It can't just be SGA. They needed another one, and so was Holmgren. And he plays a secondary role now.
He does.
Who's to say he couldn't be a primary? Right?
This is why you interview everybody when they're coming out in the draft. And you talk to everybody and try to figure out, has he got the makeup? I was thinking more about that. I was listening to a couple of national people who, like me, overvalued the Cavs and overvalued the Cavs big men. They're just so obviously skilled. But you got to have something in your makeup that makes you want to dominate, that makes you push yourself after you've already accomplished a lot. And maybe those guys don't have it. I haven't been around those guys. I don't have any idea. And neither do NBA executives, and that's why they try to be around them whenever they can. And the draft process is a great opportunity for that. So what kind of interaction did they have with Holmgren when he was coming out? How positive? What do they think of him? Do they work with people now who used to work in the Thunder organization who could put a little light on it? Wouldn't be the first time people were hired to give a little intel.
And they've got folks who know Mark Few. You can go to Gonzaga.
Sure.
And find out
what's his makeup. How hard is he going to push himself?
Yeah.
Has he got – some people just have the mentality that they are better as Robin than Batman. It's just the way they're made up. And it's hard to have two
like
Batmans.
you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's eye-raising.
Right. Don't do that.
But you got to have things click, chemistry. The pieces of the puzzle have to fit together. You can't have 2 stars wrestling over who has the basketball all the time.
And that then could determine what you do with Kessler.
Well, I think the problem with Holmgren going forward, love the talent, but with the contract, I just, Markkanen or Jackson ends up having to be involved. Otherwise, you're going to have 2 $50 million guys, and Holmgren goes to $41 million next year, and his contract goes up from there. And he's hitting, he's off his rookie deal into his second deal, so it starts at 41 and goes up to 54. So the problem with them trying to bring Holmgren on board is how do you make all the salaries work?
Well, and you don't re-sign Kessler, so that's really only 15 more.
There's
Kessler's going to get in the 20s, if not more.
And then are you going to move Markkanen or I just don't think you can have 3 guys making $140 million. You just can't put together the rest of a team. The cap isn't big enough.
Well, but then you'll have 3 young guys.
But who's to say
you have a rookie? If say they pull that off and they move up, you got a rookie, a second-year guy in Bailey. Those guys aren't relatively making much. And you got George, who still hasn't come up. Now he's going to come up. I understand
another year,
that.
yeah.
But you see how he plays.
Yep.
I mean, what his value in the league, money-wise, is to be determined.
Totally
he had a very
agree.
nice season last year.
Totally agree.
But
he put himself in a good spot, but he's got to double down on it.
Well, especially when they're playing to win.
Yeah.
And other teams are playing to beat you, not assuming it's a gimme.
That was, I just clearly and for sure, I got caught in between. For clear.
No, that's fine. I mean, when we babble away. So with that in mind, there's a lot to be determined still. But all of that has to be investigated and researched to see if you, and you being the collective management, think it's worth it. It might very well be. I mean, you just look at some of the stuff the DA has already done, and it seems like it was head-scratching that he was able to do it, that he was able to rip off people to the level that he did. Well, I mean...
He doesn't see things the way everybody else sees it, and there can be value in that. You're going to unlock some value. And your point about Holmgren, who's to say it's a 2-team trade? Why isn't it 3? I would think there's a lot of interest in Chet Holmgren around the league. I mean, I think there's a lot of people talking to Oklahoma City. It's clear they've got a lot of talent, and it's clear they're going to have to make moves because of what they want to pay the top players on the team and because of the fact they have an incredible amount of depth and a huge stash of draft picks. If Oklahoma City is involved in multiple trades going forward as they reorganize that roster, I don't think anybody's surprised. So you better make sure you're in on it.
And whether it's Holmgren coming here and they move on from Jackson or Markkanen, or whether it's Holmgren going to a third team and the Jazz draft pick going to Oklahoma City, well, what's that third team giving the Jazz? There are other players around the league the Jazz must like. And how do they get a hold of them? Well, this could be the opportunity. This could be the time. We always want to shake them loose. I bet they'd be interested in Holmgren or in, as you point out, Jalen Williams. So confusing. They have two Jalen Williams. He has a big money deal kicking in. He goes to 41.5 next year. Right. He and Holmgren have the exact same timeline and the same financial packages.
Yeah.
So back to your point about it's hard to have the 340. They're going to have three guys making $120 million if they don't make a move. So something's going to give. What are they going to do? And maybe it's your Sun Devil, Lou Dort.
As far as
he's a $20 million guy. I mean, it's just everybody's young and everybody's numbers are going up, and they can't pay everybody.
Yeah, he's a
role player.
Yeah. I'm looking for more.
But maybe they think, well, we can replace his role for $10 million instead of $18 million.
Value is that he plays a specific role on a really good team.
Yep. Yeah.
It wouldn't work in Sacramento.
They're not really good.
Right.
Yeah.
But and I'm not demeaning or degrading what he does.
No, but that piece of the puzzle doesn't fit everywhere. Maybe it would fit in a place like Detroit or Cleveland.
Yeah, you need a good team.
Yeah. A good team, toughness, defense, a guy who can bring some value without, he'll hit an open shot, but he doesn't have to have the ball every other trip down the court.
Right.
All right, DJ and PK, thoughts to ponder. We got a lot of you weighing in on that. Coming up at 8 o'clock, Mike Folta, Utah Mammoth Radio Voice, joins us to talk Stanley Cup playoffs. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeComb.
The Jazz selecting number 2 in the upcoming NBA draft. So, if there's one thing that scares me, AJ's the safer pick. And that's what makes me nervous is that Washington is going to be like, okay, we've really swung and missed, and we've really done some problems. So let's go the safest superstar available in AJ and let somebody else take the risk on Darren. If I'm the Jazz, then I take that risk on Darren Peterson. But I exhaust every option available to me to get AJ.
I encourage everybody to go back, and you do watch pre-Kansas film on Darren Peterson. I want you to watch his handle, specifically, how he navigates ball screens. He can become a better passer, but he's not bad as a secondary playmaker. You just look at him, it's his frame. To me, there are real reasons why this guy can be great.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty G and the coach, Tim LeComb, Friday, 10 to 2, Tim Dahle Mazda, 10785 South Auto Mall Drive in Sandy. You know that expression, you have to beat the champ to be the champ?
Yeah, I'm a living example of it.
Nobody's
beaten me.
College football and basketball coaches just don't really seem to embrace that. We got Big 12 basketball and SEC football. And if you want to be big time, and the leaders of both those organizations not only want to be big time, they have claimed to be the best of the best. SEC commissioner talking about SEC football, Big 12 commissioner talking about Big 12 basketball. Why would the SEC play 8 games instead of 9? Now they're finally moving to 9. Seemed obvious to a lot of people for a long time that they should.
I've got the answer to that question.
And the Big 12 is having meetings now, and they're talking, because they were at 20 conference games, they went to 18, and now they're talking about going back to 20.
You remember when they used to have the Parade magazine as far as the SEC playing 8 games?
Is this going back to that Tiger Woods question? Yeah. We were just doing the show. We were probably in our first or second year. And the Parade magazine was an insert in every Sunday paper in America. Yeah. And they always had a celebrity Q&A thing at the front. It had some name. Maybe you remember what it was. And somebody said, why? Somebody wrote in and asked, why does Tiger Woods always seem to date
Swedish models?
Swedish blonde Swedish supermodels? And the answer?
Because he can.
That was the shortest answer ever.
Yeah.
And it was spot on.
And the SEC could get away with 8 and that cupcake game because they could.
Yeah. And now they can't. They're playing 9.
Yeah.
And the Big 12 coaches apparently are getting I don't know who's talking him into it. I don't know if it's an AD. I don't know if there's one coach who's talking to the other coaches, but somebody is convincing them of what seems to be pretty obvious to you and I. Well, you got a really good league. The whole quad one games thing, most of your league is in the top quarter of college basketball, so you're mostly going to just be adding quad one games, which when you lose a quad one road game, doesn't even hurt you anymore. And we had Kim Pomeroy on. He's told us that's a quad one road loss. You don't really get dinged for those, but it's a positive if you win it. So now it looks like they're warming. It's not official yet, but they're warming to the idea of going back to 20
Well, I thought
games.
it was dumb that they went away with it because you allow your power of the entire league to increase, and the Kansases and Houstons, they're going to be in the tournament no matter what, right? And put BYU in there if you want to. But what it allows is those teams down below.
Utah, West Virginia.
That might have a shot.
K-State.
They're
right.
getting their team together. Let's say the Utes, they're maybe, hopefully, probably not this year, but maybe next year. They're a bubble team. And they go to Tucson and win. They went to Tucson and won. That stands out. Above all, not like a sore thumb, it stands out in a great way.
Unassailable,
and it's there,
right.
and it's up on the board for everybody to point to the entire time.
Do you go to Kansas? If you beat Kansas, you beat Houston, or you beat Arizona, 3 teams that we just think are going to be in and be high seeds almost all the time.
Yeah.
The whole rest of the league is like, that's an awesome win for us. That's just going to turn, whether you're BYU, maybe you'd move a 4 or 5 seed BYU team to 2 or 3.
Yeah, but they're already in. I'm talking about it. Really benefits that team that's sitting down there at
8, 9, 10.
Yes,
8, 9th, and 10th place.
Right.
This league's going to get 6 teams every year, but they might get 10.
Right.
Now, how many of those other 4 get in each and every year? You're giving those teams, whoever they are, that end up at 10 and 8, 9 and 9, 8 and 10. You're giving them something on their resume that nobody else is going to have.
Right. To going to Tucson and winning stands out. Unlike anything you're going to be able to schedule. It'll stand out more than beating Duke in Madison Square Garden.
And the truth is that those 2 games were largely replaced by money games and buy games.
Yeah.
Which make the coach feel, hey, I won 20 games.
Nobody cares about that.
So what?
And then the tournament is going to be expanded, so maybe you're down to Team 12.
Possibly. I mean, these extra bids that are coming along, they've studied like the last 5 years, and they mostly go to the power leagues.
Of course
they rarely are going to go to the 3rd team in the Mountain West or the Pac-12.
Because they're not going to have
they're going Big 12, Big 10, SEC.
Ranking and the quad one and all that spiel.
Nope.
You want your teams in your conference going up against quad one teams in your conference. The place will be packed. And if something should happen, I watched a ragtag Steve Cleveland first-year BYU team go into the pit, which had a 40-some game home winning streak with NBA guys, and they won. The shocker of all shockers, as I sat in the pit, wildly cheering for the Cougars because the pit fans always used to drive me nuts. And I silently did because you had all these. The pit is similar to Arizona. The majority of the fans are in their 50s and 60s. They're not the students, because that's the only show in town. Same type of deal. And so they'd go nuts over everything. And to see the Cougars do that, so if they could do that on a one-game basis, then a halfway decent Big 12 team that's down middle to bottom has an opportunity to win a game. Or they come into BYU, come into Provo. And they got 18,000 people there, and the Devils knock them off. Now they got something, man. You can put on the wall, and that committee will see it, and it'll just stand out. And why would you deny your teams an opportunity to do that? And when I saw 20, I thought, great. And then they went to 18. I thought, why? I thought this guy's a genius, man. He practices at Rucker Park. He's going to put a soccer game in Mexico. That's such a genius. I was told at Big 12 Media last year that 2 teams, including one of our locals, were going to play the Sun Devils in a baseball series in Mexico City. It didn't happen. I had it from a highly placed source who told me that literally. But now the season's over now, and it didn't happen. So try to do things that's going to put your conference in the best foot. And I think going 20 is a no-brainer.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Mike Folta, Utah Mammoth radio voice, joins us next. The Vegas team that knocked out the Mammoth has now knocked out Colorado, and they are back in the Stanley Cup final. We'll talk with Mike about that. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now it's the final days of our Everything's on Sale event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses. Our Memorial Day event ends Monday. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're joined once again by Mike Folta, radio voice of the Utah Mammoth. Mike, sorry to interrupt your summer, but thanks for joining us.
You guys wretched me out of a bachelor weekend that went a little too long here on a Memorial Day in the Midwest, but having fun watching the Stanley Cup playoffs, guys. What an unbelievable sequence of events that the Vegas Golden Knights, who beat the Utah Mammoth, would end up sweeping the President's Trophy, winning Colorado Avalanche in 4 games in the conference finals. And now we have at least one team that has their ticket punched to the Stanley Cup finals or final. It's NBA Finals, by the way, with an S, Stanley Cup Final, for those of you who don't know. I forgot this and was reminded on Twitter. My defense is that Utah has not reached the final yet, so still brushing up on my grammar in that sense. But, guys, it's good to hear from you. Golf game is as bad as you'd expect it to be, and we've got playoff hockey going on.
We often hear in other sports, particularly at the college level, when there's such uneven scheduling and so forth, the comparative scores, we beat you by whatever, and then you beat Alabama by whatever. So, man, we could be playing Alabama. We've all heard that game, right? And it ends up with Portland State should be in the Final Four or something crazy like that, right? We've all seen
the transitive property.
Yeah. So how much do you buy what we've seen here in this most recent round versus what the Mammoth were able to do? Because obviously, except for basically that last game, it was anybody's puck game, so to speak. And can we draw? How much can we draw? Like how close the Mammoth are?
I think you can pull it from both sides, because on one side you could say Utah was 2 overtimes away from beating Vegas in 5 games.
Right.
In 5 games, guys. They had a 2-1 series lead, and they lost games 4 and 5 in overtime. If you can find a way to get a bounce in each of those overtimes, you're moving on, not just in 6 or 7 games, in 5 games against a Vegas team that is representing the Western Conference in the Stanley Cup final. I think the other side of it, though, is this Vegas team seems to be gathering steam as they're moving along. Remember, John Tortorella, the head coach for the Golden Knights, we've talked about this. He took over with 8 games left, right? Yeah. So I think their runway has been longer than maybe a team that has been together with the same head coach for a full 82 games. So I think they've only gotten better and better. Now they had some injuries in the last round and a half. Mark Stone, their captain, missed some time. Getting him back was huge in these conference finals. And Colorado, you had Cale Makar, maybe the best defenseman in the world, was playing at 50% when he was in the lineup. He was clearly battling something. Nathan McKinnon didn't look like himself. I don't believe he had a goal in the 4-game series against Vegas. So I think Vegas has been on the up. They've been ascending as John Tortorella continues to learn the nuances of that room. I don't think you can say he's learning anymore, because they're humming along and they just vanquished the almighty Avalanche. But I think there was a bit of a ramp up for them. So that's one side of it. The other side is, boy, Utah was right there from not just advancing, but maybe making a deep run. And is it crazy to say beware Vegas is? But that's the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can say woulda, coulda, shoulda all the way to the final.
Wait a second. So it's the Stanley Cup final, but it's the playoffs? That's confusing.
It's the Stanley Cup final because hockey wants to make it about the series, not each individual game. So it's not the finals, like the final games. It's the final series.
But why isn't it the playoff versus the playoffs?
Because there are multiple playoff series. But there are
multiple games.
Nice. This is
we
what
got
he
Gary
does,
Bettman
man.
on line one.
You can't buy into this, Mike. He'll just drag you in circles and wreck the segment.
All I know is if you say Stanley Cup Finals with an S, someone's going to comment on it on Twitter. Found that out the hard way.
So Tortorella, 19 wins, 4 losses, and they had the one shootout loss in the regular season. That is spectacular. What? And I don't really think PK does either, buy into these mid-season coaching change. And like maybe once a decade it pays off if you track every sport. The Marlins did it in 2003 with Jack McKeon. The Cavs did it with Ty Lue and LeBron in 2016. And now here with Tortorella. Now they haven't won it all yet, but they're in the final. But what has he got that they took a team that was honestly scrambling to make it, win the division, and go 19-4-1.
You got Don Mattingly with the Phillies this year.
Maybe Don Mattingly's going to do it with the Phillies. But again, even that earlier in the year makes more sense to me than 8 games left in the season. Yeah.
Well, a couple things at play. One is that Vegas is known for being a cutthroat organization. They had Conn Smythe winner Jonathan Marchessault, and they didn't re-sign him. They had the playoffs MVP, and they basically let him walk in free agency. They fired Bruce Cassidy, a guy who won a Stanley Cup with them in 2023. They fired him 8 games before the end of the regular season. And in hockey, a lot of times we do see a new coach bump, like a new message kind of lights a spark within the group. That's not uncommon. But the number one thing that you can point to with the coaching change is John Tortorella tapping Carter Hart in net. Yeah. The goaltender for the Vegas Golden Knights. He was he joined the team earlier this year. He spent 2 years away from the game, going through a legal process. He was acquitted of those charges. He joins the team, I believe, in December, and was just kind of okay, not great early in the year, but at the end of the season, he caught fire. John Tortorella had Carter Hart as his goaltender in Philadelphia. So that's kind of his guy. Mm-hmm. And Vegas had, I think, the second worst goaltending in the National Hockey League throughout the regular season. They were always an elite defensive team, but they just couldn't get a save. So like we get these analytic reports before every game, every series. And during round 1 against the Golden Knights, we're looking at these analytics saying, oh my gosh, like Vegas is one of the most elite teams at suppressing shots. They're one of the top 1 or 2 teams at keeping the puck out of dangerous areas. They just can't get a stop. They weren't able to get a save all season. Carter Hart comes in and was pretty good to end the regular season. Was, I thought, just okay in the first round series against Utah, but he did have a slight edge over Karel Vejmelka. And then he's found his stride these last 2 series against Anaheim and against Colorado. He's got himself a .924 save percentage in the playoffs so far, which I believe is the best in the postseason right now. So goaltending is probably the number one storyline for the Golden Knights, but it took that new coach to have confidence in Carter Hart to make that goaltending switch. Another interesting thing about the coaching change is that Bruce Cassidy, the coach who was fired, a very successful coach, but it's kind of gotten out that his message maybe can wear on guys. Like he coaches his team hard. He drives them hard. And so you fire him, you cut him loose, and you bring in John Tortorella, who is also known for the exact same thing. Like sometimes you go from good cop to bad cop or from bad cop to good cop. A lot of times you'll see a defensive-minded coach get fired and an offensive-minded coach come in. But usually when there's a coaching replacement, especially midseason, it's a coach of the opposite nature. But Tortorella is cut from the same intensity cloth that Bruce Cassidy was. So it's been interesting to see just a new face, a new voice has made all the difference, even if they're both motivators or at least in that category of coaches.
Yeah, there's no question he's a salty guy, and I've never heard of a guy who's wins the game, and then has a blackout on the media. What the freak? Yeah, not just the game, but the whole thing. What was that about?
I think it was a categorical fumble by the Vegas Golden Knights. So if you don't know, they win the second round series against Anaheim, and then after the game, a coach and a player are obligated to speak to the media after every single game. Like that is you do it 82 times in the regular season. Like he knows it's coming, and they skipped it. Vegas didn't bring him out. They didn't. We don't know exactly who is at fault here. They gave a statement. It kind of sounded like it was John Tortorella that didn't go out and speak to media, but they lost a second round pick, and Torts got fined 100 G's. Yeah. Like, it's all you do is go out there and say, no comment. We're on to Cincinnati. Like, you could have done that and you wouldn't have lost a second round pick.
Right.
So
who's this guy think he is? Bob Knight?
Oh, see, now you're getting me going. Bobby Knight. Oh my gosh. I gotta keep my voice down. I'm back in Indiana. Someone's gonna come out. Some Hoosier fans gonna come out of the bushes and throw a chair at me. Bobby Knight had nothing on Gene Katie in that comb over, by the way.
But, okay, you got me there.
But you lose a second round pick for no reason. Now the thing is, if Vegas goes on to win the Stanley Cup, they're going to be laughing about this, and they might skip some more media availabilities just because they can. Yeah, and it's going to be a late second round pick. It's not a position in the draft that's particularly fruitful percentage wise, but still that's a bargaining chip. Like that second round pick could get you a third line center at the trade deadline next year. There's no excuse for it, but Vegas is kind of an organization that they don't really care about the status quo too much.
Okay, but there's people like that in the NFL, and the NFL people have to talk in the offseason. Quarterbacks are talking in the offseason. Coaches are talking. I just picture
Jackson Dart's talking.
Jackson Dart is talking in the offseason at Trump rallies, and I just picture the commissioner and the entire league office just ready to fine everybody and strip draft picks back to the Stone Age. Like, we're going to sell the NFL at all times. We make a ton of money, and we're going to make a bunch more. And it just seems relentless. And these other leagues, whenever I see people kind of stick up their nose, just, we're not going to do any free media. I'm like, why? The NFL does. And they got way more money than you.
I think that's part of it. That's part of it is, like, we clamor for hockey players and coaches to show more personality and not just say, well, we got to get pucks in deep and pucks to the net and things like that. Like, we clamor for this, and there's such an appetite for seeing the human element of these coaches and players and getting to know them more. And so I think that you're absolutely right. DJ is like, there's a league initiative here that's being trampled on when Torts doesn't come out. Also, guys, it was after a win. It was after a series win. Yeah. Like, it's not like you just got boat raced or your season's over and you don't want to talk. It's after a win. Like, just go out and smile. He literally could have said, I'm just here so I don't get fined, and he wouldn't have gotten fined.
The season ended for the Mammoth, but it continued for some of the young guys. You've been able to follow their progress, and how close are we getting to some of these dudes coming to pass with the big club?
Well, how many times, I'll ask you guys, how many times have we said, oh, this is a young Utah team the last 2 years?
Right.
I mean, is that not one of the storylines?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think it's crazy to think that this Utah team could get even younger based on who's coming and the young guys who could potentially make the team out of camp. You've got T.J. Gendler right now playing in the Memorial Cup. That's kind of a round robin tournament of all the junior leagues in Canada to see who is the dominant team, the dominant league of the CHL. You had Gabe Smith and Caleb Denoyer competing in their respective junior leagues championship series. And Gabe Smith, a former fourth-round pick, guys, he got the playoff MVP in the Quebec Maritime Junior Hockey League, even though his team lost the series. That's how good he was. So him and Denoyer are teammates. or were teammates in Moncton. Hopefully they'll be teammates in Utah soon. Gabe Smith is a name to watch. If you want to sound smart at the water cooler, bring up Gabe Smith. He's 6'4". They list him at like 225, guys. He could, you know, I don't know, run a gap scheme for Coach Scalley, or at least like you can move him around the formation as a tight end or something. This guy is enormous, and he scores goals by the boatloads. He's kind of a sleeper. We talked to him the other day, and he's a small town kid from New Brunswick, Canada. It's like just east of Maine. He's a small town kid, kind of got buried in juniors, and then they had a coaching change. This new coach believed in him, and all of a sudden he's producing like a first round pick. And he's 6'4", and like he talked about how he never had skill before. He was just big, but now he's big and has skill. Now he's big and he's scoring, and he won the playoff MVP in his league. So he's a guy that would be a dark horse to make the team. Probably going to be in the American Hockey League this next year, but it's super exciting to see the growth of some of these guys, because you look at the three major junior leagues in Canada. So that's the WHL, the OHL, and the QMJHL. And the Mammoth had either the top scorer or the top points per game guy in every single one of those leagues.
There are probably, I would say you can probably debate based on the size of their role with the club, but there are probably about a half dozen guys in their 30s in roles for the Mammoth. And you do want to get younger, but you don't want to get too young. Yeah. What's the balance there? Which of those guys in their 30s you think still remain the immediate future for the team, and how many guys might they be looking to move on from?
Well, you have some unrestricted free agents, so some decisions have to be made, and a lot of the unrestricted or restricted free agents are centers coming up, which is going to be really interesting to see how Bill Armstrong addresses this, because guys like Alex Kerfoot, who's been called the brains of the operation, he's a Swiss Army knife, kills penalties. He's a center. He's a UFA. Kevin Stenlund is your top penalty killer, your top faceoff man. He's a UFA. He was your fourth line center all year. Barrett Hayton can play a number of different roles, very versatile as well. He's a restricted free agent. So some decisions have to be made on those guys. I mean, you still have your core, right? Like, no matter who comes up this next year, which young guys make the team, like the core of the team that's going to push for the playoffs next year is still going to be Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, Lawson Krause, Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, Mikhail Sergachev. Like those are your pillars still. Those guys aren't going anywhere. You just signed Schmaltz to the contract extension. Cooley and Gunther are on big contract extensions as well. So those guys aren't going anywhere. But I think it's going to be interesting to see, yes, not just who makes the team out of camp from the young guys, but does Bill make any moves to bring in another one of those established players in the offseason? He did that a little bit in free agency last year. He has a history of doing that with trades, especially during the NHL draft. And the Mammoth have a ton of A, draft capital, and B, future prospects. So you've got this war chest of assets. Can you flip some of those future assets into established players to help you win now?
So you said that you are participating or have participated in some form of bachelor weekend. So I guess congratulations are in order. When's the big date?
It's not my bachelor weekend. No, it's my best friend, who's also a broadcaster, by the way. He's the voice of the North Dakota State Bison, who just jumped up to FBS in football. I believe they're in the Mountain West now.
Yeah.
So that's an awesome program. Guys, I would call into their show under the pseudonym Mike from Minot and just throw in some wild like Nebraska takes into their radio show to stir the pot a little bit. But yes, congrats to Sam in a couple weeks. I had him throw out the first pitch at a Major League Baseball game or a minor league baseball game. And then he did the dizzy bat race. If you can get a bachelor to do the dizzy bat race, it was
that always makes me queasy every time I watch it.
Well, Sam had like one beer and like 3 hours ago, because he didn't want to drink before the dizzy bat race. And so he does the race and he can't stand up. Like, he's so dizzy, spun around for 30 seconds. He can't stand up.
Man,
the whole crowd thinks he's hammered. Yeah, the whole crowd was booing him because they thought he was trashed. I'm like, no, he's sober as a drum. He's fighting the G's right now.
Man, having a friend call into your radio show, what a cheap trick. I can't believe people do that.
Oh, I know.
All right, Mike. I'll tell you the backstory to that later. All right. Thanks for joining us, talking a little Stanley Cup final. See? I'm going to learn from your mistake. I'm going to make it myself. I'll get beat up on Twitter for another reason. I don't need to get beat up for that reason. I'll find something unique. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy your downtime, and we'll talk to you again.
Yeah, God bless, guys. Tuss up.
There it is. Tuss up. Mike Folta, Utah Mammoth radio voice, joining us right here. Vegas, what an incredible turnaround. Winners of 19 of their last 24, and they're in the Stanley Cup final. The coaching change paying off.
Yeah.
Barry Tramel, sports columnist for the Tulsa World, coming up at 9 o'clock. Morgan Scalley showing off his skills, PK. We got to get to that and more on the NBA playoffs. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
Morgan Scalley, head coach at the University of Utah.
The hiring of Kevin McGivern, very, very innovative. When I've watched his teams, man, he loves to fling that thing around. Are you looking to open the offense a little bit?
I want to be explosive no matter where that comes from. If we're an explosive offense, but we're not physical, to me, that's the detriment to the entire team. You have to be physical, period, end of story, because a lack of physicality gets exposed at the highest levels. The priority, the premium is on physicality, and then explosive football, obviously explosive plays that can be from running the ball, from catching the ball. I think we have one of the best wide receiver groups we've had since I've been here. We want to get our playmakers the ball, but you have to play complementary football, and that's what Kevin's offense does.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Shea guarded by Champagne, playing with 4 fouls. Crosses over, steps back, fires. Yang left three-pointer, looks good. It is to Chinga Thunder money ball. Thunder avalanching the Spurs. The thunderstorm is in full force. 7-0 start to the quarter.
The Thunder win Game 5. Oklahoma City up 3-2 over San Antonio. You always love to say, and you got the facts on your side, the cold hard facts. First 1 to 4 wins. Don't tell me anything else. At 3-2, how much confidence do you have in the Thunder?
I'd say in a 75% range.
Okay. I can see your logic
Spurs
there.
winning 2 games is not shocking.
But it would be surprising.
Well, yeah.
Hence 75%.
Right.
Yeah. I would think that most people are going to be in the 70 to 90
I mean,
range.
I'm not getting on a plane if it only has a 75% chance of landing safely.
That's an excellent point. Good math by you right there. You always say you're not good at math and word problems. If a plane has a 75% chance of landing safely, would you get on it? No. No, thank you.
Be plenty of seats up front. I think the Thunder have the better roster. I've been saying that all along. And, I mean, Big Vic has to be really big every single game.
He was clear. Not. The Oklahoma City big men both had strong games, and combined, they were the difference in this one. They handled Big Vic, limited him to 20 points and 6 boards, which is a good night at the office for a lot of players, but that's not San Antonio's recipe to win. They need him to go off, as he did in Game 1.
Yeah.
And 40 and 20 might be too much, but they need 30 and 15, and they didn't get that.
And then they shot 44% from 3, so they don't take a ton of threes, so that's even better, speaking of the Thunder. Mm-hmm. So, and we talked about it earlier, how McCain and SGA both were 7 of 19, which is, okay at best. Now Shea's able to make it up with 16 to 17 from the line, but everybody else, Hartenstein, 6 of 8. Holmgren, 6 of 9. Bench guys. Caruso again shooting the ball well. So they got guys that Case and Wallace puts in a couple of buckets from 3, or 1 from 3, 1 from 2. So they get a lot of different contributions with Jalen Williams out. And, you know, they're a pretty deep team as far as that goes. And we talked about how they may be looking to move guys because they've got 2 picks this year, and they've made it known the 12th and the 17th they would be interested in potentially moving up. And I think that they got their eye on number 2. So I believe that there will be discussions, at least casual and minimally, if not intensely, between the Jazz and the Thunder, because the Jazz have an opportunity to do some stuff here that, you know, you make one move and you piggyback that move off of be able to make another move. And we threw out, as just an example, not anything that anybody needs to run to Twitter and post it about, that would the Jazz consider trading the number 2 pick for the 12th and 17, and then could they move those 2 picks to get in, say, the top 8? And then you're running out of there with somebody like a Chet Holmgren, who's good, all-star, was drafted 2nd, if that's ironic. And then maybe you get a veteran. He just turned 24 3 weeks ago. And you can get the best of both. You can get a quality player who's already in the league, a big man who can shoot threes and do a lot of different things, and get one of these top rookies. Maybe so. Maybe it's possible. You'd have to consider it.
Multiple trades, multiple dominoes. Considering it, absolutely. And I think if you focus on the word consider
or
and
pursue.
You listen, you're right, or pursue.
Which is different than consider.
And you listen to what Austin Ainge, and Austin, the good thing about him coming on is, well, number one, he did it because there's just
he told me he was going to do it. He
so
was
little.
Do it.
Yeah, I know, but I just think it should be acknowledged in an era where Tortorella is just the recent example. But there's plenty of examples across plenty of leagues of teams that basically button up shop and let's throw colleges in there for that matter too, and button up shop and don't communicate with their fans who they're demanding a lot of money from, and they want a lot of time from them as well. And so throw him a bone, and he did. And there's obviously limits to what he can say, but he was saying stuff yesterday, and he's like, if you listen, he's not just coming on and giving you cliches. He's trying to tell you stuff without saying stuff that people are going to quote him and run wild on. But if you listen, you can hear it. He's like, well, you were asking him about, the process and all that. Well, this is the week we get the health information. Well, they got the number 2 pick. It might be Peterson. Mm-hmm. They're as curious as anybody to get to the bottom of, why wasn't this guy playing? Now, partly you get that from the medical information. There could be something in there, something serious. This may not be an attitude, positioning yourself, trying to grab some power and manipulate the draft process. It might be that, but it might not. There might be some serious medical stuff in there, and they've never had access to this. And if they were super inquisitive, well, they should be. That's their job, to draft a guy. I mean, not to pick on Brandon Roy, but he was a good player. He was a high pick, not number 2. I think he was 7. He went to Portland. He looked great for a couple of years, and then his knees just gave out. It was terrible. It was a terrible investment, and there were other teams that were worried about it and thought, we love the player, but we got to stay away. This is an injury waiting to happen.
Well, the Jazz did that with Borchard.
They took the risk on it. See, they're drafting in the 20s, and he's got the talent to be above that, and other people are freaked out by the potential injury, but we're going to roll the dice on it. And we were just starting to do the show. We were out at the Summer League, and you came back just shaking your head like, no way, he's already hurt.
Yeah.
It was game 1 of the Summer League.
Right.
And so these things are out there, and it's too big a deal to mess this up. And they're clearly taking this seriously. If they dive into the medical stuff, and if they talk to him and think it was a weird confluence of events, he was a young kid and he got some bad advice, well, that just parallels the Ace story. And the Ace story, it seems like that worked out great. It's only 1 year into working out. But none of the stuff about how he was positioned for the draft seems to have carried over into this year. That was somebody else's doing. Yeah, Ace's personality is totally different than the portrayal we were getting leading up to the draft.
100%. Yeah.
So they can't get scared off of Peterson. They got to get to the bottom of it. nor can they roll the dice on a guy who can't play.
And they will.
So I think considering this, if they think Peterson isn't the guy, and if they think AJ is going number 1, I can see why they would consider trading number 2 and start looking around. Well, what combination of players and picks can we get for this? It becomes much more serious. Now, maybe they're only moving. Maybe they don't want to move down to 12 and 17. Maybe they do because the Thunder have a ton of young talent and a lot of picks. But maybe there's, maybe 3, 4, 5 looks like the place they want to move to in the draft. They got to figure all that out.
Right. I think it's
and
important.
We don't get the medical stuff, but I think that's the first thing. Because the thing that I want them to come away with, and that I think everybody wants them to come away with, you rarely get a chance to get a true difference maker. They're usually out of your reach in the draft. And now it could be within your reach. It's a loaded draft and you're drafting 2. So come away with a true difference maker. Not the 4th best player on the team, not the super sub coming in. You can find those other places. But to find a real pillar you can have for a decade, that's what they need to come away with. Maybe Peterson's that guy. Maybe DeBonsa will fall to them. But if DeBonsa doesn't fall, and if Peterson isn't the guy, what moves are they going to make? And maybe it's stay put and go to the guys who are being projected 3 or 4.
Boozer, yeah.
Boozer, yeah. Maybe that's a move. But maybe the move, to your point, is, hey, that young guy buried on this roster is going to be somebody. Let's go get him. And maybe that somebody's buried on the Thunder roster.
They have an opportunity to get more than just a difference maker at one position. If they can somehow parlay this into multiples, that's something that might even be better.
Yes.
It's so fascinating. And I wish that, when it was said and done, that they could just call us in and say, hey,
here's how it all played out.
Yeah.
But they got to be careful because they got to deal with all these people again.
They do, yeah.
And you can't embarrass them.
Right.
And Danny Ainge, not so much Austin, but Danny Ainge has a rep, and people don't want to get their pocket picked. So we've read and heard stories about they start getting careful when Danny Ainge calls. Now, how Austin will play it, and Austin can't go very far from his last name, and clearly they've been working together in multiple organizations now. So I suspect it's the same thing. When you look at your phone, you realize it's him. You're like, all right, let's not get my pocket picked.
Austin has carved out his own path, but I think that he is basically dad part 2 in a sense with his shrewdness and his instincts and his ability to assess. I'm very confident in his ability to assess because he's been doing it since he's a teenager. This is nothing. Now it's the highest stakes are involved right now, that's for sure. He's never really had to be in this position to draft 2 in a phenomenal top-heavy draft for a team that has been losing for 4 years, but they've already made one big trade. And notice, if you go and listen, he put something out there, sort of a sidelight. We're talking to him a lot about the draft, and he's talking about the young guys working. Oh, and Jaron's here too, BTW. And they're watching him. Mm-hmm. They're seeing what he can do literally as we speak. I mean, literally, he might be right now.
If he's in the gym at 7 a.m. when Gordon Hayward was 8:40, you can see where the workout will be going on right now.
Yeah, good for you need to be in the gym. 7 doesn't impress me.
6, 5, 4.
Well, 4. That's probably 4, a little too early.
Yeah.
5:30.
5:30. Once you start getting 5:36, then I'll get a level of okay, I'm impressed. Because then, if you're in the gym at 5:36, well, you're not eating Twinkies at noon. You're there for a purpose, so you can extend the day to work out more. Kobe talked about that.
Yep.
Get that workout done before other guys start, and then get your body refueled, and then go again, and then maybe even a third time. And if that's what it takes, then especially for these guys at this age, when a lot of them, they don't have they may have toddlers, but they're not consuming their days as kids can do when they get older. So the opportunity there to really improve. And Austin threw that out there with Jaren Jackson there, looking good, too, as I suspect he would be when he has his health, because he's a player in this league. And I think we're going to see Jaren Jackson has been good, but I think we're going to see, from what I understand, the emergence of Jaren Jackson at the highest level that Jaren Jackson can emerge, if that makes sense. But it's a bunch of fancy words I'm trying to say to make myself sound smart here.
So I'll just cut to the chase here. He was playing with a ball-dominant little guard, and maybe his talents weren't maximized. Maybe there's much more to unpack there.
And he was good, yeah.
And Jackson was good. Yes. Jackson was good in Memphis, but that doesn't mean his talent was maximized.
I don't think it was. Plus, he was younger.
He's younger, so he's improving, but also he could be featured in a system that maybe takes advantage of some strengths we didn't see.
I think that's going
as opposed
to
go to the rim, catch a lob, and dunk it, get an offensive rebound, and tip it in. Maybe there's more there. But there's another guy who's got the ball in his hands all the time.
I would be surprised if Jaren Jackson's not on the Western Conference or whatever thing they do with the All-Stars.
He's an All-Star
these days.
Yeah, but he's an All-Star.
I think there's a legitimate chance.
He's got a rep, so that'll help. The team should be better and should be winning. The All-Stars tend to go to the top half of the league, not the bottom half of the league, and the Jazz have been in the bottom half of the league.
Right.
So that'll help.
Yeah.
And you already know he's got a fair amount of skill, and now maybe in a situation where it can be put in the spotlight a little more.
Utilized. I think that we're going to see a complementary game with each other between Markkanen and Jackson. I think the organization is really excited about seeing these two go to work together and what they can do.
And I think that is one of the things that while they should be considering these conversations with the Thunder, especially based on what they think of the top two guys, it's going to be hard to do because some of the guys the Thunder need to move, might make too much money for the Jazz. Are they willing to move on from these two guys before they ever really get a chance to put them together? 2 games last year doesn't count. That's not enough. And I don't see how they can fit the $340 million in long term. Maybe they can.
Well, I think those things have a tendency to sort themselves out once you have enough evidence and sample sizes to see what works, what doesn't work, what needs to get better.
I'll buy that. There can be a lot of hype for 3 or 4 guys, but 3 or 4 guys don't usually develop to the peak all at the same time.
Right. And so you have to spend your money wisely. You just can't put guys that match each other's game and sort of get in the way of each other.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that they're going to have to figure out. And it'll start with Kessler to see how he fits in. But I do think we'll be able to see this season the 2 players up front mesh together. They'll figure it out in a way. They themselves will figure it out. The coaching staff will figure it out, and I think they'll be able to communicate as far as, okay, this is what we need to do. You know, we knew it. We saw it for so many years with Stockton. You know, he knew everybody's strengths, everybody's weaknesses, where they wanted the ball, how they wanted the ball. I mean, I remember Rodman, you know, he was a freak and all that, but he would talk about how he studied the shots of all his teammates. So he knew if Steve Kerr was at a certain spot on the floor and he shot the ball,
where's the rebound most likely to be? Right.
If it doesn't go in, and I need to get to that spot because I've studied it, and I think that's what they're going to do. And I'm real fascinated to see how it comes together because it's like a 5,000 word puzzle here that is sitting on your coffee table, and it may take months to figure it out for that puzzle, but I think it won't take months for here. And this is going to work. To what level? That's what we're going to find out.
DJ PK coming up at the Win Tickets Wednesday. We got tickets to give away to see the Utah Royals and the Orlando Pride at America First Field July 18th. We'll do that after the break. Morgan Scalley, he's got pipes, PK.
Who knew?
I did not, but I listened. We will get to that next. Stay with us.
They've been doing it for a while.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
He covers the NHL for Sportsnet. He is Luke Fox.
Now Austin Matthews is obviously very much in the news, and you've seen the Mammoth's name tied pretty closely to Matthews if he were to hit the trademark.
Utah's interest in Austin Matthews is 100% accurate. They would have to join a few other teams that would probably be raising their hand. If he does say, hey, I want out, for sure the Mammoth would be all over that. The Sharks would be over that. The Kings. There would be a number of teams that would want a player like him because they just don't become available very often, especially when they're in their prime. A couple years back, he scored 69 goals, threatened 70, which hasn't been done since the 90s. So a player like that may or may not become available, absolutely, the Mammoth are all over that. They want a superstar.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Do-do-do!
Morgan Scalley, new coach. There's new opportunities. He gets to do new, cool stuff you don't get to do when you're a coordinator, PK.
I know the one we're talking about because it's at Pebble Beach, and I used to have a coach who would text me, oh, man, the ocean looks beautiful on par 3 here, just to get under my skin, and he would send me his agenda, and I would send him an obscenity. So I know the one, and I think Kalani told me that he was off the tee at this one, and he dribbled it because he was so nervous.
Yeah.
And then his second shot, where nobody could see it, he smoked it.
It's called the Pebble Beach Coaches Classic.
Yeah. So Sam Farnsworth tweeted this out. I guess it's courtesy Rich Day, it looks like. Rich Day shot it. So apparently there's this deal, and they have like some kind of food or whatever. They got tables set up, and people are there. And as the new guy, he had to sing. Well, it turns out Morgan Scalley can sing a little bit. He picked a classic song. I hadn't heard that in a while.
It's funny. I got a story behind this song.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear it.
George Benson on Broadway.
Oh, go get it.
Hey.
Don't screw it up.
Okay, it goes on. It's on Twitter. I've retweeted it. Lots of people retweeted it. You can find it out there if you want to watch a couple minutes. He's got a lot of confidence. You can tell his kind of stance, kind of leaning into it a little bit. And these things, you've probably seen other ones, PK. These things can go horribly wrong. I mean, people really get up there and croak sometimes. This is not good.
He picked a cool, upbeat tune.
He did.
It's funny, when I was in Flagstaff, Arizona, my second year at NAU, a couple of friends, we were going to go to the record store, which there used to be record stores.
What? That was a good time.
And so we were there to check it. The one guy said, yeah, I got to get this. I just love this. And it was George Benson, this live album with this song.
Yeah.
And that's a little different, but I like it. I like that you're going different. And then when I heard Morgan say George Benson on Broadway, it brought me back to my second year in college. And then because then and this was in the dorms, and if somebody bought an album or a cassette or what do they call it, 8 tracks back then, everybody had it. Because then you'd all pile into the room and listen to it.
Yeah. I got a new album. Come on. Oh, okay. Where are we going? We're going down to Bob's room.
Right.
I've got a new album.
And then half the people in the dorm would come in and we'd crank it up. And I remember this song being cranked up thinking, I really like this. And this is a cover that George Benson was doing on Broadway. And the intro of it was so high-powered, and Morgan recreated it so very well.
It was different, but it was a hit. It wasn't. I just looked it up. It went. It went number 7 on the Hot 100.
Yeah.
Billboard's Top 100.
Yeah. The live version.
Yeah.
And
so that's
it was awesome.
Number 7.
Show some personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? And I think they do it newcomers, basically rookie initiation.
Yep.
And so he did that one. He knew it was coming. And the band was good. The cowbell was there. And
yeah, the cowbell was good in the background. You can see that. More cowbell!
And so they were right there. And he knocked it out of the park, which doesn't surprise me because Morgan has a personality that rises to the occasion.
He does have personality, but I didn't know he could sing. And those two things don't automatically go hand in hand. But he had both.
Sure. I mean, great. And he can sing. I mean, you didn't know I could sing until I started belting him out.
And that really goes to my point.
Well, as I say, I think that if people don't want me to sing, I'll never sing again.
Okay, milk that one more time.
But good for him and get his name out there and show some personality and be a real human being. Because sometimes these coaches, they get all stuffy and they don't want to get involved. There was people were they would be surprised by this, but I think we were in Dallas, and they had won. I think I forget. They beat Iowa State, I think, to go to the Sweet 16. And Majerus that night, he got up there.
I think it goes back to what you say. We have so little in common with pro sports coaches and athletes. They really do move in a different universe. They're going out to Pebble Beach for random golf tournaments. This is just not stuff we do.
Right.
So anytime they do something that we feel like we can bond with them or we have something in common, and everybody's had to get up at some point and sing in front of a group, right? Whatever the setting, and you can bond over that. Oh, I had to do that once. And it went poorly, it went well, whatever.
Yeah. And
I say, hey, fat fellow with the haircut and yellow.
That hurt.
I what you trying to prove. There's a fire started in my heart, reaching a fever pitch and bringing me out the dark.
I'm not really an Adele fan, as you can tell, not really the demo, but that song, she's got a live version of that song, and she totally owns the room. It is so awesome.
Well, she did it
Let's get physical. Physical.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We got to give away tickets on a Win Tickets Wednesday right now. 5-pack of tickets, Royals and the Pride. Call 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. Utah Royals playing their best soccer ever, and it's not close. Getting near the top of the NWSL. July 18th. Tickets, you want them now. Call right now, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. Barry Tramel, sports columnist for the Tulsa World, covering the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I heard something the other day that makes me think Oklahoma State might be back more quickly than we expect. I'll get to that next. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now it's the final days of our Everything's on Sale event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses. Our Memorial Day event ends Monday. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
That sound could mean a lot of things. And when something's going wrong at home, the hardest part can be figuring out what the problem actually is. At Thumbtack, you can upload a voice message or a photo, and our AI-powered search will help diagnose your project. Plus, the pros we know have over 14 million 5-star reviews, so you can hire with confidence. Thumbtack, we know homes. Hire the right pro today.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on Carvana. Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
DJ PK, it is time to welcome back one of our favorite guests. Barry Tramel joins us, sports columnist for the Tulsa World. Barry, good morning.
How's things in Salt Lake?
Good. You're turning into an international star, Barry. PK's coming in telling me I'm hearing Barry Tramel on other shows now.
Yeah, I heard him on the NBA satellite station where he used the example of Victor Wembanyama being able to cover the distance from the Oklahoma City airport to the Brickyard Canal. How visual was that, Mr. Tramel?
Well, yeah, he's something else, man. I guess if I was in Utah, I think he could cover what from the Salt Lake to Provo is about how far his wingspan is. It seems like I don't know how you get a shot.
Go from the Great Salt Lake to Mount Olympus.
Well, there you go. How far is it Salt Lake to Sundance? Is that about 30 miles, probably?
Probably close to 45, 50.
Well, okay.
It's not bad.
Just up to Provo Canyon.
I think for a visual, you'd have it from the Wasatch Mountain to the Oakers, because then you could just have him.
East to west?
See, east to west. You just put him right in the middle of the valley with the wingspan out to each mountain range. There you go.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
I do think that it's not death by 1,000 paper cuts, but it is he's getting worn down by playing against a bigger player in Hartenstein and Holmgren, and I think they've given up on trying to pull him all the way out into the corner and have him so much shoot a corner three, but they're pulling him up above the top of the key now, and even he can't cover everything. I thought in Game 5, the Thunder were able to drive to the hoop quite a bit. They were moving him around the floor, and it seemed to be working for him.
Yeah, when you play somebody like that, it's so foreign. There's nobody on earth like him. Their availability with him has been minimal. They've played a handful of games, and you just learn so much in a playoff series. And they've still been good. I mean, the Spurs have done an unbelievable job on Gilgeous-Alexander and really minimized his efficiency. But even Shea is figuring out some angles and stuff, not necessarily to shoot over him, but to get some passes in. He threw Wembanyama came out on him last night, and he threw a bounce pass to Hartenstein, and it was sort of the angle I was right behind on the pass. And when he threw that pass, I thought, he's got no chance of getting that pass past him. But he did, and it's a nice little bounce pass, and Hartenstein had an easy basket. So things are getting a little easier for the Thunder, but that's all relative because San Antonio makes everything so hard on everybody. Listen, I don't know who anybody wants to win this series, but the Spurs are going to win a bunch in the future. So, get ready for a steady diet of springs with the San Antonio Spurs involved in the NBA.
I've been impressed the whole series with Alex Caruso. We remember him coming up with the Lakers, and I think he moved over to Chicago, and they make that trade with Giddey, where he's now with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And to me, he is like that fly in your face that just won't go away, and he keeps landing on your nose or getting near your ear. He's just a pest. How would you describe his game, and are you as impressed? You see them a lot more than we do by how he's been this whole playoff series.
Well, what you see is what you get with Caruso. The difference is the Thunder does an unbelievable job of keeping Miles off the tires in the regular season. They'll sit him all the time. They might not play him a minute in Milwaukee on a Tuesday night, even if the game's tight and all those things, because they just say, we're going to preserve Alex Caruso. The way he plays, well, heck, you saw it last night. He banged his head on the floor and turned his ankle all on the same play.
Yeah.
He gets hurt like that all the time. And they just really try to preserve the guy and then unleash him in the playoffs. He was moderately needed against the Lakers and moderately needed against the Suns. But, they need him. Heck, he might be their most valuable player in this series. And he can guard anybody on the court. He's not a very good career three-point shooter until the playoffs, and now he's got the most 3-pointers in a conference final since Luka in 24. just out of the blue, that kind of stuff happens. So yeah, I remember when they traded Josh Giddey to get him. The rumbling around the NBA was, are the Bulls crazy? They could have got 2 first-round draft picks in that deal along with Josh Giddey. They'd have demanded it. And when you see Caruso play like this, you realize that's true. Sam Presti knew what he was getting, and he would load it up the truck to bring in an Alex Caruso to this team.
I hold the Thunder in very high regard, but I do think sometimes they play with their food. Guys, just eat. But no, they got to push it around the plate. They have a 20-point lead. It goes down to 8. Yeah. Just blow them out. They were up 3-2 last year against Denver and against Indiana, and they dropped Game 6. Don't let it come down to one game, and anything can happen. Now they won Game 7, so what does it matter? They got the trophy anyway. Do you feel like they're going to play with their food in Game 6 and then beat the Spurs in Game 7?
Well, I don't know that they can. It's awfully tough to beat the Spurs in San Antonio. So they could not play with their food and still lose. But I do think they are wearing down Wembanyama. He's getting tired. There were times last night where I didn't know if he was in the game or not. All of a sudden, watching the game, you think, wait, is Victor out there? And then you sort of look for him, and there he is. And you forgot he was in the game. So they really minimized his impact, which is phenomenal because he's such a high-impact guy everywhere he goes. But I think he's getting tired. Shot a lot of threes, didn't post up a lot. 2 straight games, they've really, or really 3, they've really minimized his offensive rebounds. That's where he kills you. I mean, he plays Moses Malone basketball sometimes. He literally twice this series has just tossed the ball off the backboard so he can rebound it and dunk it. So when he's getting tired, big advantage OKC. So that's the key to me is, will Victor return? Because the Spurs, they're fun and they're young and they're tenacious. They're not great on offense other than Victor. Castle's not a great shooter. He's a big force, but he's not a great shooter. Vassell and Johnson go up and down. Fox is limited with the injury. So they need Wembanyama to score. Now, his defense is all universe. Best defender in the history of the NBA is probably what he's going to be. But they need him to score, and he was not much of an offensive force last night.
What's going on with Jalen Williams, man? He's just had injuries the whole season.
Yeah, it's been a bad year. Just hamstring, missed the first part of the year with the wrist that bothered him in the NBA Finals, had surgery, finally gets to play, has the hamstring. Now he's tweaked it 3 times. I actually think we might still see him in this series, maybe Game 6. I don't know. There was some talk that they might try to run him last night. They ended up not doing it. Thunder's shorthanded with A.J. Mitchell out, with Jalen Williams out. SGA is about the only ball handler you really want to trust left. So, he's a fighter. He wants to play, I'm sure, and they would love him to play, but they're a very cautious organization. So, I don't know if we'll see him, but it sure would alleviate a lot of stress off SGA. And the thing about Williams is he's, this would be the 3rd time he's come back from the hamstring this season. And when he comes back, he hits the ground running. He looks 100%. He's jumping and springing and going all kinds of things. So when he comes back, I think he'll be really good. But it's just whether the Thunder wants to pull the trigger on letting him try it.
What do people in Oklahoma City think of the Knicks, and what do they think of a potential final? Or are they completely obsessed with the Spurs in the Western Conference final and no one is considering that yet?
Not too much talk about it yet. Some people are fired up about, and I think this would be true of almost any Western Conference team, an NBA Finals against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden would be really cool. The Pacers that great. I love Indianapolis. They got one of the best arenas in the history of mankind, all that kind of stuff. But to go play the Knicks, New York's team, right? The favorite team of New Yorkers, any sport, trumping the Yankees, trumping the Giants, the Jets, all that kind of stuff. In Madison Square Garden, home of Willis Reed, Game 7, home of Ali Frazier, Fight 1, all the mystique, all the majesty, all the celebrities, just the electricity around New York. It'd be a phenomenal experience for Oklahoma. This would be the coolest thing on Broadway since Rodgers and Hammerstein. So, it would be a really cool thing. And that same holds true for San Antonio. If it was Utah, Portland, Sacramento, doesn't matter, whoever. Anybody but the Lakers would probably say, hey, this is really cool. So I think that will be quite the event when it happens. And New York's abuzz about that team. They ought to be. I mean, they're on a historic run. They're very difficult to guard. They've got some defense. So I think it'll be a good competitive finals. It would be a pretty monumental thing for the state of Oklahoma to participate in, I think.
All right, Tramel. I know about Aaron Rodgers, but who's this Hammerstein kid?
Rodgers and Hammerstein. They wrote Oklahoma.
Oh, with Shirley Jones?
Shirley Jones and who's the old boy that played Curly? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, Rodgers and Hammerstein. They did South Pacific, and they did. They're famous. They're like the Andrew Lloyd Webber of the '50s. So, yeah, they're heroes. I guess they're both dead.
Well, aren't you cultured?
Yeah, but. Yeah, they wrote. Rodgers and Hammerstein they're big in Oklahoma. I'm serious. The musical Oklahoma was like it came right on the heels of the Dust Bowl coming out of the Depression, where the Grapes of Wrath gave Oklahoma such a negative connotation, and then here comes these singing and dancing cowboys and stuff, and everybody thought it was great, and it set records on Broadway, and so. Very, very much revered the guys who wrote Oklahoma.
Oh, bigger than Mickey Mantle, Troy Aikman, or Carrie Underwood?
Let's see. Not bigger than Mickey Mantle, bigger than Troy, and bigger than Carrie Underwood. So I put Mickey Mantle 1, Rodgers and Hammerstein 2 on that list.
One football thought for you, because we can't talk to you without talking college football. But I talked to one of the locals here who tracks, there's so much new in football now, right? And they're tracking all these transfers. And they were telling me that the public gets excited. You get a transfer from fill in, the name, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Alabama, whoever, right? Or you get a transfer from San Jose State, North Texas, or I don't know, whatever other small school. And he said that what the numbers are telling him now that they track it, that you are more likely to have success with a player moving up a level or two than you are with a transfer from another Power 4 school. And that made me think, and it's still case by case, there are transfers from Power 4 schools who hit it big, and there are kids who move up and they can't quite cut it. But that made me think maybe Oklahoma State can be back faster than you think, because obviously getting the coach from North Texas, you're getting a big infusion of talent from North Texas, starting with the quarterback. The people should take that seriously, and I wondered if you're hearing anything like that in this run-up to Oklahoma State with a new coach in a new era.
Well, I can tell you a few things. One, Eric Morris is a very impressive guy in terms of trying to build a program, the way he goes about things, the fit, all those things seems A+. Mm-hmm. Drew Mestemaker looks like the real deal. He's a 0-star recruit. He didn't even start for his high school team in Austin, and just barely somehow finagled his way to walk on at North Texas. And by the end of the year, he's throwing 400 yards in a bowl game, and then did what he did last year. Now he's at OSU. So he's the real deal. People like Bruce Feldman of The Athletic, big on Drew Mestemaker and the Cowboys. Here's what I would say, though. Literally, how would anybody know what Oklahoma State's going to do? literally. They got 85 new players. 85. I mean, this is like leaving St. Joseph, Missouri in 1869 on a wagon train and saying, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. You guys had no idea what you were going to do on that wagon train and what California was going to be like when you got there. It's a total unknown. It's like going into space. 85 new players. 45, I hope I hadn't thrown this at you before. Oklahoma State football personnel chart, the staff, coaches, support personnel, medical, all that. They list 45 players. 45 employees. 3 of them were here last year. These guys can't find they don't know where the Walmart is in Stillwater. And all of a sudden we've got to know whether they can compete with Brigham Young and Utah and Texas Tech and Kansas State. I have no idea. It is, to me, what we're seeing more than a projection, it is a affirmation of what a mess it was in the past. To think, and they're going to be better. I don't think they're going to go 0-9 in the Big 12 again. But to think that Oklahoma State went and got the North Texas coach and 22 players from North Texas, or 21, whatever it was, among their 85 new players, and are going to be better by basically transfusing the North Texas program to Stillwater. What an indictment of what happened in Stillwater these last 2 years.
Yeah, shocking.
Letting go of the rope. Mike Gundy was phenomenal forever, but then he just, I don't know what he was doing. And if you bring in 85 players, guess what? You lost 85 players. So, some were seniors. They probably had 10 or 12, 15, whatever. So let's say the 70 players that they've lost, 3 or 4 of those guys have landed in power conference rosters. So they didn't have any ball players. North Texas had some ball players. So OSU is going to be better. Mestamaker's a potential star. They got wide receivers, and Morris knows what he's doing. So they're going to be better. I'm hard-pressed to believe that they could compete for a Big 12 title, or even really the upper tier of the Big 12. That just doesn't seem likely to me. I really don't know anything about these guys. They had their spring game the very same day as Oklahoma. I went to Oklahoma's spring game, so I didn't even get to see them live, which I would love to have seen them. But, we're going to find out quick. They play Oregon week 2. So Oregon will be, they'll be locked and loaded. So, I would tend to put OSU in the second division of the Big 12. I think about an Indiana transformation happens about once a half a century, and we've already had ours. So we'll see, though. We'll see. How's the Cougars and the Utes looking?
Great. They are.
Hey, when people ask me surprise team of 26, who am I picking? I throw out BYU every time. I say they got a culture. They got a bunch of players back. They got their quarterback returning. They've been good.
Yeah.
They don't have 85 new players.
No.
I'm bullish on BYU.
I think you should be. They've won double-digit games the last 2 years. They've got their quarterback back. They lost Jay Hill, and the cornerbacks coach went with Kyle Whittingham to Michigan. And a lot of people are interested to see what's going to happen with that defense, because Jay Hill came in. He's just a local guy all the way. This
guy from Weber, right?
Yes.
From Weber State.
Yeah, he played at Utah and coached at Utah under Whittingham, and then goes to Weber, resurrected Weber, that made them a literal national power, and then goes to BYU paying 7 figures, which they normally hadn't done, to get an assistant coach there to run the defense. The defense had been awful, and it transformed. Now he's gone. I've heard some people say, oh, man, that Kalani Sitake's success, he owes a lot to Jay Hill. And there was somebody down there who was willing to let Kalani go to Penn State because he figured, well, I got Jay Hill sitting right here. Turns out it didn't work. It didn't happen that way. Some other people got involved, but that was the line of thinking. So Jay Hill is highly regarded, and Kyle scoops him up and takes him to Michigan. So we'll see how the defense is. But the recruiting has picked up. They're on a high right now, so I have no problem with you being bullish on BYU football.
Yeah, I'm actually more – Big 12 seems more predictable. It's the most unpredictable conference we've had for this decade.
Yeah, last
but
2 years.
It seems more predictable maybe than the other leagues because so many of the traditional quality programs that you figure, well, they're going to be good. Well, Oklahoma State, we know about. Iowa State's totally wiped out. Kansas State got hurt bad in the portal. Now, maybe Colin Klein's rebuilding quickly. I don't know. But Tech, BYU, and I assume the Utes, I think those are pretty dependable. So that's the way I would see the Big 12.
Yeah, Utes should be fine this year too.
Yeah, Cincinnati's not going to be very good, and Central Florida is just treading water, and West Virginia is still not back, and TCU, who knows? I don't know. But
TCU and ASU.
I throw both there.
You like ASU? Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm
Arizona.
Worried about the quarterback.
Yeah, I think they got a coach who's pretty good with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
All right, Barry.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
We'll leave it right there for now, and I think you need to start
spreading the news.
Start packing your bags, start spreading the news. You're not leaving today.
I'm not leaving today. I think I'll wait till they actually get to 4 wins.
Yeah.
In this series.
Yeah, well, the series, the finals doesn't start till June 3rd, I think.
Well, check out the flights and the hotels. You can at least do that.
I've been doing that, and and I will. Next time I'm on with you guys, I'll come up with another good piece of Oklahoma culture.
Okay. We look forward to that.
I got to tell you, you guys stunned me. And when you now who's Rogers and Hammerstein? Get it right. In Oklahoma, you don't have to. Nobody asks that question. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Richard Rogers and Oscar Hammerstein. I know their first names.
Oh, wow.
Oscar Hammerstein.
Well, now we'll do a segment on famous Oscars. So there you go.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oscar Schmidt, Brazilian sharpshooter. Oscar Mayer.
He died the other day. Did you see that?
He did, yeah.
He died just the other day. Oscar Gamble with the massive
former
afro.
Padre and Yankee. Yes, I remember him.
Yeah, and of course, Oscar Robertson's the best ever.
Yeah, the big O.
But Oscar, not Felix Unger and Oscar
Madison.
Madison. That's right, from The Odd Couple.
I got your culture right there.
Yeah. That's right. Jack. Okay, who do you like? Jack Klugman or Walter Matthau?
I'd go with Klugman.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with Klugman's portrayal there. Walter Matthau's an epic. You say Walter Matthau, I think Bad News Bears. There he is in the dugout.
Grumpy old men.
Yeah, grumpy old men. He's good in that too.
The Odd Couple is like MASH. The TV show is better than the movie, which is very rarely the way it works.
Yep. Barry, we appreciate it as always. You're the man.
All right, see you guys.
All right, there's Barry Tramel talking a little Thunder, talking a little college football, and a little pop culture. That's why we love having Barry on. He can cover all the bases. When we come back, everything you missed in this show. We had Mike Folta on earlier talking Stanley Cup final. And you're picking a new quarterback. Patrick Mahomes back in the news.
And there's just simply no way Rodgers and Hammerstein are better and bigger than Carrie Underwood. I draw the line right there.
DJ and PK, stay with us.
For Jazz fans, it's been a rough few years. Well, those days are behind us as the Utah Jazz finally struck gold in the NBA Draft Lottery. Picking second. As the Jazz prepare to draft a potential superstar with the number 2 overall pick, nobody will bring you better coverage of the NBA Draft than the KSL Sports Zone. For all the breaking news, high-profile interviews, and player analysis leading right up to draft night, keep it locked on your exclusive home of Utah Jazz basketball, 97.5. The KSL Sports Zone.
Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
I sold my car in Carvana last night.
Well, that's cool.
No, you don't understand. It went perfectly. Real offer, down to the penny. They're picking it up tomorrow. Nothing went wrong.
So, what's the problem?
That is the problem. Nothing in my life goes as smoothly. I'm waiting for the catch.
Maybe there's no catch.
That's exactly what a catch would want me to think.
Wow, you need to relax.
I need to knock on wood. Do we have wood? Is this table wood?
I think it's laminate.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's close enough.
Car selling without a catch. Sell your car today on
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
Slacker Radio headlines are brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN1 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Talked about a lot of stuff. The game of the night, the Thunder, 127-114 winners over the San Antonio Spurs. And there were several interesting things that happened in that game, but I think the defining thing in that game was that the Oklahoma City big men really had the upper hand on Victor Wembanyama. That was an impressive performance by both Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren, who at different stretches of that game really made their presence felt. Hartenstein finishes with 12 points and 15 boards. Holmgren, 16 points and 11 boards. They both get their double-doubles. And Wembanyama, 20 points on 4 of 15 shooting. He only had 6 boards. If I told you that was his stat line before the game and didn't even tell you the other two, I bet you would have been pretty sure the Thunder were going to win.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man.
They need Big Vic.
Yeah, I mean, he's
their ticket.
Heart and soul of the team. The other guys are okay, but
Fox was 4 of 15. He's probably not 100% as far as his health goes. Vassal's 2 of 11. I mean, there was just too many struggles out there.
This is Olajuwon and the Rockets.
Yeah.
The difference being
these guys are young and have a chance.
Olajuwon was in his prime. Mm-hmm. Big Vic is just getting started here.
Yep. So. And we'll see if some of these other guys really blossom into something special. You know, Olajuwon was surrounded by a lot of nice players, but they were nice players. There wasn't a second star until they traded for Drexler. And here, I mean, we're talking, this team's starting 20, 21, and 22-year-olds. It's amazing. They're so far ahead of the curve to be at this point.
College teams that'll have older guys.
Yes. 100%.
The way they hand out eligibility, like Halloween candy these days.
Everybody's looking for 5th and 6th-year college guys who are going to be.
They're looking for former NBA guys.
Now they are, yes. You only played in the G League? We need someone better than you.
Yeah. So their time is to come. That's why I don't judge them hardly at all, because they're barely getting started here, and he may not be good enough to put up huge numbers every single game. Not yet. And, you know, we were seeing this, and that's fine. If they lose Game 6, if I'm San Antonio, I have the attitude of, so what? This is their first crack. They didn't make the playoff last year, did they?
They did not.
Right. So this is their first time in, and they go all the way to the conference final, and they push the defending winner to minimum 6 games. I would consider that an extreme success. A young coach, too, on top of that. You got all these things going in their direction. Yeah, obviously the arrow's pointing sky high for that team.
No basketball tonight. We will have basketball tomorrow night. It'll be Game 6.
No basketball tonight?
The Thunder at the Spurs. No, because East is done. It's over. And it's
East is over. Well, then put on a summer league game then.
You have hockey and baseball tonight.
No, I don't.
You have
baseball day games. It's Wednesday.
Nobody tonight? Nothing.
Well, there's some.
Hey, you got WNBA tonight if you want to watch basketball.
Who's playing? Is Caitlin Carr getting a crap beat out of her tonight?
Very well could be the case. I got to look at the slate. I just know that they're playing tonight.
I keep trying to downplay the meal ticket. I'm not sure I understand that puppy.
I do not understand.
You do not have her tonight, sadly.
You got Rockies and Dodgers at 8 o'clock tonight for your baseball.
I have her every night.
Will Shohei be playing?
Well, yeah. How about
He's
Phillies and
scheduled to
Padres?
pitch. Got hit on the hand, but the Phillies-Padres is a day game.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Wednesday's
that's
a lot of day games.
2 o'clock, yeah. Diamondbacks and Giants are at 1:45.
They are. I already knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got hockey tonight, Carolina and Montreal. Their winner will go play Vegas. We had Mike Folta on earlier. If you want all your hockey talk, listen to Mike Folta wherever you get your podcasts. Mike, breaking
Let me hear your hockey talk. Your hockey talk.
Thank you. Thank you, Olivia. Game 4 tonight in the East, Carolina, Montreal. Carolina's up 2-1. That's
And I
on
think they'll get physical.
TNT at 6. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's get physical.
I don't know if Kyle was going to Detroit Red Wing games, but Kyle Whittingham was going to Mammoth games, and I talked to him about it once. He said, what do you like? He goes, the speed, the physicality. I said, it's linebackers and tight ends on skates. He goes, yeah, isn't it great? He's just... So, yes, get physical. You want to sing again? I'm waiting, just in case.
A little bit of a drive from where he's living, but it's
From
doable.
Ann Arbor, yeah, I don't know where the Red Wings arena is as far as... Ann Arbor's a little outside of town in the burbs, but not far. Straight freeway shot. And I don't know if he's living in Ann Arbor or in Detroit proper.
No, he's living there.
In Ann Arbor.
I was made for loving you, baby.
Kiss.
You were made for loving me.
Kyle,
and I can't get enough of you, baby. Can you get enough of me?
And you get paid for that.
Kyle sent me a picture backstage with Kiss.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And he had all the makeup on.
That'd be awesome.
No, he didn't.
That would be awesome.
He was a Kiss guy, or is a Kiss guy.
It was a day full of blowouts in the majors. The Cubs get blown out 12-1 by Pittsburgh. They've lost 10 in a row now. How many guys do they have? How many pitchers do they have on the injured list?
14.
Is that, you're just making that up?
2 or 3 are ambidextrous, so it really counts as like 17.
Okay. Get some healthy pitching. Maybe they get it together again. Yankees, every starter had at least
Lee
2
Smith
hits.
is not walking through that door.
All right. Yankees 15-1 over the Royals. So,
Rick Sutcliffe's
they
not
have
walking
blowouts.
through that door. Ferguson Jenkins not walking through that door. What?
Give me some more Cub pitchers.
Greg Maddux not walking through that door.
Hoyt Wilhelm. Just taking a shot. He pitched for like 12 teams, so I figured he was there.
Hoyt Wilhelm.
He was a knuckleballer when I was a kid.
Hoyt
I don't even know if he was a...
Wilhelm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
You never heard of Hoyt Wilhelm?
Yeah, but he's not related to the Cubs. I'm
I
giving
know, I
you
think he was
Cubs
a Cub.
star pitchers.
I think, well, he wasn't a star. No, he was more journeyman, bouncing around. Patrick Mahomes is back on the field. Torn ACL, torn LCL, surgery. End of the season wrecked, but he's back for the first OTA practice. He's wearing a knee brace on his knee, but we're still in May.
Where else would he wear the knee brace?
That's a good point.
Because he's on his elbow, it would be really weird.
Yeah, it would be. That would be. Probably wouldn't fit. It'd probably be super loose.
He's wearing a neck brace around his ankle.
You remember the...
Yak, you set me up for this one. What are you laughing for, Yak? I literally read what you wrote.
Oh, so it's my fault.
It is your fault.
Could you repeat that, please? I want to make sure I understand.
He was wearing a knee brace on the knee. Right there, Yak. It's right there. You wrote that. Or you copied and pasted it.
There is a phrase that you
Copy-pasted.
do not like us saying, but teleprompter was in effect.
Oh, yeah, right. Best opening newscast ever. Hello, I'm Roger Cooper. Nope, you're Paulo Lopez. Sorry. That's an incorrect answer.
Well, you never know these days.
In this particular case, you definitely knew.
I was made for loving you, baby.
That was the 80s, so it wasn't these days. But in that particular case, I was really sure. I knew both Paula and Roger, and I could have passed that test, although Paula could not. The SEC is doing away with their annual Cupcake Week game. Next to last weekend of the regular. What is the Citadel going to do? Who are they going to play? Not an SEC team. 9 league games instead of 8, and they've decided that's where they'll park them.
On a serious note, I wonder what this does for the teams who rely on those games for budget reasons.
They don't get as much money.
I know, but what? Obviously not. But what is the impact? Because you got they're having conference meetings now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Big 12 having them, SEC, and one of the coaches in the SEC, I forget who it was now, said,
I think it was Florida's coach, wasn't it?
I'm worried about what this is going to do to other sports, and that's been Cody Campbell's been talking about that for a good while now, and that's serious stuff. Young people not having opportunities. I mean, the world will still turn. I get it, but who in their right mind saying, "Yeah, I'm glad they dropped those sports"? Nobody ever says that. I mean, whether you pay attention to that sport or not, it doesn't matter.
We just had a slew of, and some were reinstated.
Yeah, the Arkansas tennis situation. So they got back. But that's something that we're already seeing women's sports taking a hit for other reasons. And so does anybody feel good about eliminating women's sports? No. Or the non-rev men's sports for that matter? No. Nobody wants it to come to that.
So how will this play in leagues like the Southern Conference?
I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Because now they'll probably be playing 2 money games instead of 3.
Now, from the football standpoint, it's like, okay, we know that week in November, that's a joke. Why do I do that? And if you're going to expand the playoff, then have bigger games. There'd be no excuse now for not scheduling bigger non-conference games.
They want to pile up the wins and get bowl eligible because they don't think they're getting anywhere near the playoffs.
Okay, but those aren't playoff teams then. I don't need Alabama to play Citadel.
No, you really don't.
Seems like a joke.
I do think they're more money games now. They're not as lucrative because we're seeing more teams move into the championship subdivision. I think all those teams are buying games, but those teams that are moving up, like Appalachian State moved up, they're not going to pay what Alabama's paying because they're not, you're not going into stadiums that seat 60, 80, 100,000, whatever. You're going into stadiums where, there's going to be 20, 30, or 40,000.
Right.
So there'll still be something, but there won't be as much. All right, that's what we've been talking about today. Anything else we talked about today you want to pass along? Brendan Sorsby's appeal for reinstatement denied. So now he's going to appeal the decision and also go to court. He's got 2 separate paths here trying to get that decision flipped.
My guess is he's going to go also to the supplemental draft.
That would be the next step when he's told no twice. But for Texas Tech, not as deep a quarterback. Still got a good quarterback on the roster. Got to get him and his knee healthy. But they still got a good quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think this is a devastating, ruin the season, Cam Rising type injury.
Another QB injury would be, because they had depth, they had 2, but nobody really has 3.
You got me there.
Then they're down to freshmen if they have another one. Assuming he's back.
Go to NFL Europe and get one.
NFL Europe. There was a good idea that didn't quite work.
Go to the Canadian League then.
Now you're talking.
Bryson Barnes.
Bryson Barnes is up there running for touchdowns in Canada. I saw the clip. Yeah. All right, DJ PK, your feedback next. Stay with us. Question of the morning. We're getting tons of feedback. OKC is interested in trading the 12th and 17th picks to move up in the draft. Should the Jazz consider a package of players and picks? Shay, they tanked hard for one reason, to get a top talent in the draft, and they're not trading it for 2 project prospects. Well, I agree with that, Shay.
That's not what we're talking about.
I agree with that, but I think they also agree with that. And considering it, I think what they consider is they probably identify a handful of players, either in the draft or around the league, that they think could be generational talent. Can they flip and somehow find their way to that? As you point out, maybe using multiple deals or maybe using a third team. As far as getting a bunch of prospects and getting a 4th or 5th starter or 1 or 2 bench guys, that's not the point.
No, not at all.
It shouldn't be the point. It won't be the point. I'd be beyond stunned if they did that.
The point is the point.
The point is to get a top talent.
Yeah. And if you can acquire a top talent through utilization of this pick and somebody else who could be a rotational guy, you have to consider that. We're not talking about on its face 2 for 1 here. We'll give you our second-round pick. You give me the 12 and 17, and let's call it good.
That's a firm no. It's a firm no to that.
But I thought that would be obvious. This is not the NFL where you need depth.
You do need depth here, but this is not the piece to be using to acquire depth. And I looked up in the break, I'd looked up the trade you referenced. There are a handful of these trades where teams did trade down and make their team much better. And when you said the one Boston did, I immediately went to the Tatum one, and then I went back to the Ray Allen when they used the 5th pick to go get Ray Allen when they were getting and Kevin Garnett in those deals. And you were going back even further. They built the team around Larry Bird. They had Larry Bird coming in, but they got Parrish and McHale in the same trade. They had the number 1 pick, and they traded it to Golden State. It was the number 3 pick and Parrish, and they used the 3rd pick on McHale. So they got McHale and Parrish. Well, now you're talking.
Yeah. Those other ones you made were nice that you referenced, and they got him a title.
But you could argue
I got a decade run over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A decade run and 3 titles.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Let's go.
And then in there, you're losing the Lakers, the greatest team of all time.
Yeah, so they won 3 titles. They went to the finals 5 times, and I think they went to the conference finals 8. But maybe it's not.
I remember. I didn't remember all this particulars, but I remembered something along those lines. That's what I'm talking about here.
So you've got to consider that and see if you can pull it off. And if you can't, and I think the thing that makes it easier in my mind to make the trade is if they do their homework and they find out DeBonsa's going number 1 to Washington and the Wizards' demands are exorbitant. They're just trying to pick our pocket. We're not that desperate. And if they do their homework here, and Austin Ainge said they're looking forward to getting the medical information on players, well, he's not going to say any player by name, but my gosh, isn't everyone going to be diving into Peterson's medical stuff? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. If they decide Peterson isn't the guy, then what? Are they picking Boozer or Caleb Wilson, who are slotted 3-4 in the mock drafts? Do they want them at 2? Do they want to trade down and get them and get another asset? And do they want to involve Oklahoma City? Oklahoma City, there's 3 things you can trade, right? You can trade draft picks. Oklahoma City has them both this year and in the future. You could trade young players. Sometimes you find young players buried on somebody else's bench. Oklahoma City could have that. And then sometimes they have really good players they're paying and we're paying 3 players big-time money now, and we got more people coming behind them who have to be paid. So maybe you can get an established Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, who's going to be making $40 million next year. So for the Jazz specifically, that's hard because they've already got 2 $50 million players on the roster. So there's going to be a money squeeze there. But again, back to 3-team deals, or you make that trade and you trade one of these other guys because there's some great option out there. We don't know about it, hasn't gone public, but maybe they've had conversations, they know some. You got to consider all of that. At the end of the day, I bet they pick number 2. But any of these other things could turn out to be true and could turn out to be the right decision.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be about 6:20, though. It won't be the end of the day that they'll make that.
I see what you did that. Yeah. Nice. Figuring a 6 o'clock start for the draft, a commercial break after the warm-up opening statement, the first pick.
Right.
10 minutes.
So it won't be the end of the day.
Late in the day, but at the end of the day.
Early in the evening.
Early in the evening, right. At the end of the day, you're at the end of the first round. Not in the second round because they've moved that to its own day now.
Which is fine.
Sure. Do whatever. Create another TV show. I'm fine with that. Got more people weighing in here. And Andrew, no way. R. Scott, absolutely not. Ray, no way. Lavelle, not this year.
I think they're looking at a straight deal.
Dave, you hang up when Presty calls.
No.
You got to talk. He's got too many assets. They've got so many good young players. And we're seeing that. They just rotate on the bench. They rotate in 3-4 guys. They got 2 guys out with injuries. They got 5 starters. Everybody can play. And now they're going to add multiple draft picks. They're going to have to shed some talent. Somebody's going to have a chance. I don't know what moves the Thunder are going to make, but somebody's going to have a chance to get some decent players or some very good players off that roster.
And maybe they do just take Peterson, they sign off, everything's cool, and he's ready to go.
And he could be great.
His skill is awesome.
Yeah. Got to dive into all that health stuff. Yeah. All right, DJ and PK, we're all done. Listen to Mike Folta, Barry Tramel, our entire show, wherever you get your podcasts. The coach is coming up next. I'm sitting in with him for a while. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
Summer is all about freedom, fun, and growing up. And between the ages of 9 and 13, kids are starting to form their views about alcohol. With more independence, their still developing brains need more guidance and support than ever. That's why summer is the perfect time to stay connected and plan fun, safe family activities together. Research shows kids who spend quality time with their parents doing what they enjoy are less likely to drink underage. And when kids feel close to you, they're more likely to listen, especially when you set clear expectations. In fact, kids who drink before 15 are far more likely to struggle with alcohol later. This summer, create a no-bummer summer with fun, alcohol-free activities for your kids. Go to summer.parentsempowered.org to take a quick quiz and discover ideas tailored to your family. A little time together can make a big difference. For more information and to learn more about how to prevent underage drinking, visit parentsempowered.org.
Mom, can you tell me a story?
Sure. Once upon a time, a mom needed a new car.
Was she brave?
She was tired, mostly. But she went to Carvana.com and found a great car at a great price. No secret treasure map required.
Did you have to fight a dragon?
Nope, she bought it 100% online. From her bed, actually.
Was it scary?
Honey, it was as unscary as car buying could be.
Did the car have a sunroof?
It did, actually.
Okay, good story.
Car buying you'll want to tell stories about. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.